Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your boy Clint. It is Monday. We are back, baby. We are so back. I found my money chain. I got the baby blues. Not only did we have a winning week this week, but we had, I think, what is the biggest winning week of my entire year, plus 14 units at UFC 309. Monkey off the back in a big way. And I went 10-2 on my fight picks. The only one of those. It's funny, actually. The two picks that I got wrong were ones that I flip-flopped on. I picked Marsbura, and then I kind of talked myself into the whole new gloves thing, and I thought I flipped to Denise at the last second, which, frankly, if he wasn't a freaking idiot, he would have won that fight in the first 20 seconds. That first exchange, it should have been over. But regardless, the other one, I listened to my heart. I couldn't bear to not pick Veronica Hardy. We didn't put money on her. We didn't lose money on her. But I could not bear to pick against her, and I put her up as the final pick. I knew it was Mora. We talked about it last week. We knew it was Mora. I should have just stuck with it. So I was this close to full-on sweeping UFC 309. And the only real bet that we lost at UFC 309 was freaking Roofy inside the distance. I can't believe how tough Yontop is. The way that guy absorbed those shots, and then I'm also a little disappointed with the fight IQ from Roofy because he could have snatched a neck. Like, he could have absolutely clubbed and subbed there and decided to just back off and look for the left hand again. So we were right there. Almost had an actual sweep. Oh, I'm feeling it. The juices are flowing, baby. It took me, 85% of 2024 to get my groove going, but we've got it going now. So I think I've earned myself the money bucket hat, the blue shirt, the chain, the glasses, but I can't see. So we're going to go ahead and switch back to the other glasses because I'm a blind as a bat old man. Here we go. There you go. Hi, guys. Now I can see you. How you doing? Welcome in. We got my guy Ethan Hershey, who did pay his shot bet. If you guys missed it over on Twitter, I posted that up. He had to do 2 for 1 because he doubted my angle. The Brazilian lesbian with the neck tattoo, Viviane Araújo, cashes. Biggest dog on the card coming through there for me. Grateful dude in the house. We've got Corey Haskins, my guy Dream. We got Michael, Stu, Air Dog, OG, Ozzy Fights. We got Mushroom MMA. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We've got UFC Macau this weekend. And if you don't know, let me be the first to warn you. This is not a mimosa and waffles fight, you guys. This thing's over in China. This is like a piss off your wife, stay up until the middle of the night type of fight. 3 a.m. Eastern. That's 1 a.m. Eastern for me. I mean, if I'm watching this card, I might as well get a fresh bottle of Fireball and pull an all-nighter. It's that kind of a fight card. I may not watch this one live. So if you're interested, I just want you to be aware right off the top, you're going to have to set your alarm clock and get up early to catch this card. Otherwise, you better be subscribed to ESPN Plus so you can, rewind that bad boy and check it out. I am super excited, you guys. I am super excited. Not only do I finally have the financial and record agreement that my reads are where they need to be. The last couple weeks we've been doing that thing where the reads are really good, but the bets have not been. Finally, we lined those both up. So got some reinforcement that the brain is in the right place at least. So I'm feeling good. We got a fun card to talk about. And on top of that, I've got a guy coming here as a guest who I've been waiting to have on the show for a very, very long time. You may not know him off of Twitter, but you might know him off of Instagram. The man is an absolute legend. I love his edits. He's a member of the Home of Fights right here, none other than Hayden from Hey Jive Picks. My guy, what's going on? How you doing today?
What up, Clint? How we doing, brother? Like I said before the show, big fan of the show. Been watching for a while. Glad to have you on the Home of Fight team and glad to be on the show and break down this card. props to you for cashing in on UFC 309. It didn't go as smoothly for me, but good to see you get back on track, because I know you've had a rough year. So glad that you were able to cash some bets, man.
Dude, thank you. Thank you. All of the above. Super happy to be here with Home of Fight, obviously. Super excited to talk to you finally one-on-one after also being a fan of your content for a very, very long time. And then especially happy that my wallet is a little bit fuller today than it has been basically the entire rest of the year. 2024 has not been kind to me. So, you know that feeling, just being able to kind of take that big deep breath, that sigh of relief that you're like, I'm not just an insane person that sits in front of a camera. Like, sometimes I actually know what I'm talking about. It feels good. It feels good. How'd you do last week?
Well, I want to have your feeling right now, because I've had a great year overall, but the last 3 to 4 weeks have just not gone my way. Like last week, it's one of those where I just can't catch a break. Like last week I was on Basil Hafez plus 3.5. He was up, or he'd won a round on the scorecards. I'm thinking this guy's never been finished. Boom, he gets knocked out. I also had the over 2.5 in that one. So that was a double whammy of an L. And then I thought Mickey Gall was going to win. I thought, Ramiz, round 1 sub or bust. The dude's never had a knockout before. And then bang, he gets his first knockout. There's another loss. And then one that I'm just kicking myself on. It's like I was going between the under 1.5 or the fight to end by KO in the Tybura Denise fight. And I'm like, I'm going to just go with the under 1.5 just in case, Tybura gets on, finds a submission, ends up going over 1.5. Fight ended by KO. And I was also going to take a little sprinkle at Tybura by KO just because I thought the ground and pound could maybe come.
Oh, that would have been beautiful.
Like last week, it's just the ones that I didn't play ended up hitting. I was also thinking Eduardo Mora as an underdog. I just laid off. And then the ones that I actually did play just never went true. But, it's been that kind of a run the last 3 or 4 weeks for me. But overall in the year, it's been a good year, so I can't be too down. But hopefully we turn that around this week, and I'll get your insight, and maybe that'll help me out.
I like it. We'll bring some positive vibes coming here, and we'll get there. So those of you guys who don't know, anytime I shout out the Home of Fight premium picks, Hey Jive is one of the guys that contributes to those premium plays, and the premium boys are up over 140 units in 2024. So it's been kind of wiggling up and down a little bit right around that number, but that's where it has been. So they have been on absolute fire for the majority of the year. So hopefully we can line up here, man. You'll get there. A couple of those bad bounces not going your way. Like that's been happening to me the last couple of weeks too. Like I thought I was going to be profitable the last 2-3 weeks in a row, and it's always come down to one play, and a couple of them have been like split decisions where, you know what I mean, like where it's just brutal pain that it doesn't quite go your direction. Real quick, I want to touch on the Basil Hafez fight because I was big on Oban Elliott, and I could not believe when those judges' scorecards got put up at the end of it. I thought that it was 2-0 Oban Elliott or maybe 1-1. You know what I mean? Like there was a world where I could score at 1-1 going into 3. But Basil was up by 2 rounds on Derek Cleary's card. Like, bro, those are the ones where I felt good going into the 3rd round laying chalk. Obviously, the KO makes me not have to worry about sweating it. But if that thing had gone to a decision, I'd have been throwing my laptop. Like, you were on the right side betting the plus money there. And I felt fine right up until I saw the judges' cards.
Yeah, I mean, he was, minus 850 live or something going into the 3rd. And I thought watching that, I'm like, we're gonna need a miracle to get one of these rounds, or at least if he could maybe steal the 3rd, since I was playing the plus 3.5. But
yeah,
I mean, like these wide lines where you got minus 300 and a plus 200 or whatever coming back, and you just take the plus 3.5. I took the guy that's never been finished, and then he gets finished. So obviously, if he gets finished, it loses. But going to the judges' scorecards nowadays, it's like you never know what you're gonna get. So plus 3.5,
so crazy.
Honestly, it's a great bet when it goes to the scorecards sometimes, but if it doesn't make it there, then it doesn't count.
Man, I feel your pain. That's where, like, with my Vivi bet, I bet Vivi Araujo last week, and I chickened out on just going, like, what's been getting me in trouble this year is when I'm wrong on a read and I go big. So like I was gonna go like 5 units money line because I was so confident she was the side. And I was like, you know what? That's hurt you very recently. Don't do that. So I went 2 units on the spread plus 3.5 and then 2 units money line. That's why I'm like, hey, if I lose a robbery 29-28, I'll break even. You know what I mean? Like the, parachute, make sure I escape a little bit. So I understand. And you were locked and loaded on that Hafez spread bet. Those have been absolutely money recently. So something we need to keep watching out for moving forward is those easy plus 3.5s if it can get to the scorecards, because judges have been, those phantom 30-27 calls that'll get you home.
I gotta give you a shout out though, because we were at the Hard Rock and it was not going well for me, and I was just, me and Matt were kind of on tilt a little bit, and we were about to go ready down to the nightclub where they're hosting the watch party, and Vivi was just about to start. And I'm like, I don't have anything on this. I need some action. And I'm like, Clint made that great point about the little neck Brazilian tattoo. I'm always about that too. So I threw some money on her by decision. It was a sweat.
Oh.
But once we got to round 3, I liked our chances. So we got that cashed in. So I got to give you props for that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's the best part, man. So when I started the show, it was therapy. I just wanted to talk fights with people, right? I haven't been making people money this year. It's the best feeling in the world where somebody takes your read, bets it, and hits. So that makes me feel all warm inside. I love hearing that. I'm happy you and Maddie might have gotten a little cash in on that and that decision prop. What was that, like plus 300 or something? What was the number on it?
It was plus 325 or plus 350, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Threw it in. I was like, I need something on this one. And I'm all about the Brazilians with the neck tat. And
yes, sir.
For the same team,
Yeah, you guys got to watch out. Brazilian lesbians with neck tattoos. You got to all do your research. Check the Instagram. Make sure if you're betting against somebody with a neck tattoo in women's MMA, be careful. All right, guys, that's enough on the recap. We got UFC Macau to get into. There's a lot to talk about on this card, man. Had to do some serious digging for my homework. So I'm ready to go here. Let's go. First fight of the night. We have got the legend himself, Maheshate, returns, taking on Nikolas Iron Motta. And man, Nick Motta, what a weird story he has been in the UFC, just in general. Like, this guy has had such a weird up and down situation. 2-2-1 coming off Dana White's Contender Series, 31 years old. Like, I feel like I know him like the back of my hand, but at the same time, I still don't feel like I know what he's capable of, because every time you think he's dead, he nukes a guy. Every time you think he should win a fight, then he ends up, getting cracked and put down. And it's like, does he have a chin? Does he have cardio? I don't know, but his hands are fast. He's got absolute cinder blocks built into his knuckles in his hands. He's compact. He is explosive. I feel like he's a little undersized for this weight class sometimes, but the speed seems to benefit him. So he's just kind of a live and die by the sword type of fighter. Maheshate, on the other hand, 10-3. He also is 2-2 off Dana White's Contender Series. He got splattered by Slava. Then he came back and got the win over Benitez by split decision in his last fight. It was very close. It made me a little nervous because I actually bought in on that spot. Gabriel Benitez is a guy that I have been trying to get on the other side of, and I thought it was a good bounce back from Maheshate. And the way he fought, it left me a little uneasy that night. That fight was extremely close. This guy has a huge frame. Where Motta might be a little small for the weight class, Maheshate's really big for the weight class. Seems like a bit of a size bully. He likes to fight long. He's got really long kicks. The big thing for me, he's young. He's really young, and he's fighting out of my gym right here in Arizona, Fight Ready. This will be his second camp training with the boys over at Fight Ready, and he's just 24 years old. This is the spot, man, where I expect Maheshate is going to start doing this. You know what I mean? Like, they've kept this kid around. They've given him high-profile fights very early in his career. It's pretty obvious that people see some upside, some talent, some opportunity with this kid. And it's just a matter of his skill catching up to where they think he's going to be. It's been a rocky road to start, but I really expect Maheshate to kind of settle in and especially start to use that frame the right way as he sticks with a good, solid gym the way he has been. So It's Maheshate for me, but he's sitting at about -205 right now, so he's still a little on the expensive side. What about you, man? What do you think about this fight? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping there's some improvements there training at Fight Ready because I think he has some potential being that young and he has a pretty solid frame. You know, at 6 foot, 71-inch reach. Like, I think his striking is okay. It's just he's not super accurate. He doesn't really offensively wrestle, and his power I think is a little bit overrated. Like, if you can't put out a 38-year-old Gabriel Benitez in a fight where they're just striking it out, I'm kind of concerned. But on the other side, like Nikolas Motta has never done it for me. Like, I don't think the guy is really that great at all. And it honestly seems like it's kind of a setup fight for Maheshate to win. So, I mean, he was going in there against Tom Nolan to die. Like, they wanted Tom Nolan to KO him. And then he pulls off the upset. And then they book him with Ludovic Klein in one of the weirdest matchups I've ever seen put together. And then he pulls out. So then they're like, all right, you got to fly to China and fight Maheshate. So I don't know. I mean, Nikolas Motta, he doesn't really have much to offer outside of fast hands inside of boxing range. Like, he's not good at range striking. He doesn't mix in any grappling at all. Takedown defense is okay, but I don't really think Maheshate's going to be looking for that. So at range, I think Maheshate can have a lot of success, but if he gets into these firefights, kind of where he got into with Borshev and Benitez, like, he could easily get chinned. You know, Motta's got some big power, but he could also get chinned himself. So I'd maybe look for some type of violence or something like that. I haven't checked the over-unders, but I think Maheshate's the rightful favorite. It is kind of chalky, but just because he could probably get chinned. But, you know, I don't really rate Motta too much, so I'm with you on Maheshate for a pick.
Yeah, I'm thinking Maheshate, and man, honestly, I'm kind of looking at the over here. I'm kind of looking at the decision prop here, and not because everything you said is correct. Obviously, the way Motta fights, he fights to an under. And if you close the gap and get inside on a guy like Maheshate, you can chin the guy. And that's all Motta's going to be looking for. But the way he fought his last fight, to me, it almost felt like he was scared. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he wants to engage. He might just sit outside and like push kick Motta until he's done with him type of thing. I could see that anti-violence, greasy, just get me a win type of performance here from Maheshate, trying to make sure he doesn't lose in front of his home crowd.
That would be the smart way to go about it. So week to week, like, my confidence in fighters having IQ just goes down tremendously. Like, I just don't understand the game plans or like what these guys are doing sometimes, and it can be very frustrating. But one thing we didn't touch on, the old gloves, new gloves thing.
That was where I was going next.
And like I guess we got to call them the old gloves now, but the ones that they brought in that they got rid of, they're going to be back for fight nights. So we got the old new gloves or whatever. I don't know how you say it right now. Like the new gloves that they got rid of.
Old new gloves. I think that's right.
The old
they used to be new, so they're the old new gloves.
Yeah, the old new gloves are going to be back for fight nights. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe that plays into your decision angle, but
what do you make of that whole thing, man? Because they're doing the old gloves for the pay-per-views. We just saw people's faces get smashed in over the pay-per-view. Like, enough's enough. Let's go. Let's stick with the old gloves. The old gloves work. They're fine. They're great. But they're going to be like baby sample size testing these things, where it's like we're going to have 2 pay-per-views with the old gloves and then two fight nights with the new gloves. It's not a big sample size. It's not going to matter statistically long term. Why are we going half and half? Like, why aren't we just going back to the old gloves? They work.
I guess Dana said it's because they don't have enough of the old gloves for the rest of the year.
Oh, okay.
You're only going to need like 20 some pairs for every card. Like, you really can't get that many old gloves put together in that amount of time. You know, it just seems weird.
Maybe they like full stopped production or something, you know, thinking they were never going to need them again or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they really got to take their time and put them together, but
yeah,
it's another
interesting
thing to think about, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, man, something for everyone to be aware of. We're using the decisionator type of gloves for this card. So instead of looking violence from UFC 309, maybe lean a little extra towards that over. And that's my look here, man. I would think it's Maheshate by decision, but I think it's Maheshate. I don't know if you want to be parlaying this kid based on what we've seen recently, but again, that leap of faith that a 24-year-old at a good camp training with Santino DeFranco is going to be getting better. That's where I'm sitting. I think it's Maheshate or pass.
I agree.
All right. Next fight up, we have got Long Zhao taking on Quang Li. And you guys are going to have to be careful with me. I've been watching enough MMA these days. I've been doing this podcast long enough. Frankly, I'm more comfortable with Russian names. I can roll off the tongue of Nurmagomedov any day of the week. It's these Asian names that trip me up. I'm like, I have no idea how the X's are pronounced. So bear with me. I am going to butcher some of these names today. Long Zhao is 26-9. He's 26 years old. This guy lost on the road to UFC Singapore in the finale via split decision. He fought on Dana White's Contender Series at one point, and he actually lost to Christian Quinones, who has since been let go from the organization. And man, I didn't actually have any money on him in that road to Singapore finale. But what I did say in that breakdown was, if you're losing to Christian Quinones, I'm never putting money on you. And I still stand by that. That was a good fight. It was obvious that he made some improvements. He looked better. But if you're losing to Quinones and then also not beating a road to UFC guy who I think right now are kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel in general in the UFC, you're not someone who I can trust. Now, Long does have decent volume. You go back to his road to UFC run. There was a fight where he put up 106 significant strikes. He does have these digging body shots that I like. He is strong in that Muay Thai clinch. He's got big knees from that position. His last fight was absolutely grueling, and he didn't slow down. He showed some willingness to stay in the fire, good cardio, big body kicks. But he leads with his face, man. Every single time he's throwing anything, he's stepping in face first with his hands down. This guy's there to get hit. Quang Li is 8-1. He is 33 years old, and he lost his UFC debut to Chris Gutierrez. So he got jumped by the UFC. This guy came in hot and took an L to a fringe contender type fighter. There's really no knock on that. He's coming from the LFA, and he actually was supposed to fight on Dana White's Contender Series, but then he filled in, replacing Javid Basharat in that short notice opportunity against Chris Gutierrez. And honestly, he showed some serious toughness in that fight. He ate so many leg kicks. If you listen to that fight back, the broadcast is talking about how the leg kicks are just decimating him, and the dude grits his teeth and switches stances and keeps coming. He was refusing to go down, even though he was very obviously compromised. Good forward pressure. He toughed it out. I like the toughness. He's got a good body lock. It looks like he's actually pretty physically strong, and he's got some good chokes on him. He's got some decent jiu-jitsu. I am definitely an ageist when it comes to MMA. I like these kids that have time to grow and develop and improve. But it looks to me like at 33 years old, Quang Li is reminding me a lot of Marcus McGee last week. That should be a Jonathan Martinez spot. It should be a young, rising, up-and-coming contender spot. But this old dude that got to MMA maybe a little late, somehow, some way, he's got more tools. I actually think Quang Li is probably the side for me here, man. It's a very, very close fight, and there's not a lot of pick'ems on this card. It's one of the few ones. So it's a bit of a coin flip, but I'd be leaning towards Quang Li if I had to make a pick. What do you like here?
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion. I think Quang Li is probably going to be my pick, just because I'm with you. I don't think these road to the UFC guys are very good. I think the level of competition is pretty bad. And Quang Li didn't look terrible in his debut. I mean, he won a round on Chris Gutierrez, and for a guy that's a tough debut.
Yeah,
Chris Gutierrez, because he's not going to fight you. He's going to chip away and run, and it's just super hard to land on the guy. If you've never faced that type of an opponent, you're going to struggle to land anything or have much success. Got him down to the ground and controlled him for a round and then lost. But Long Zhao, he's probably going to be shooting some takedowns, and I don't know how Quang Bang Li is defensive grappling is really that. I don't know how it is, because on the regional scene, he's not really getting takedowns shot on him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how he deals with that, if he's able to stuff him or if he's able to take better positions off of that. So not much of an opinion for me. I'll take Quang Li just because he's gotten little bit higher level of experience, and he looked okay. The age, 7 years older is not great, just because I don't think he's got like a bright future in the UFC by any means.
Yeah.
Long Zhao's probably got a lot more professional MMA experience and maybe a brighter future, but I don't think any of these road to the UFC guys ever do anything. That's why this card sucks. Like the tournament finals, the road to UFC, it's just like, oh God, I got to watch road to the UFC all over again all day yesterday. And then we got to watch them fight it out on Saturday. And none of these guys are ever going to be anything. So
yeah,
I'll take Quang Le.
Dude, the Dana White's Contender Series fade has been pivoted to the road to UFC fade. Like, these guys are awful. I know they're trying to grow the market over there, and that's great, but they need to like keep them into the road to UFC. Like, and that's why you see these guys on multiple rounds of it. It's like they'll have 30 professional fights, win road to UFC, get their ass whooped, and then be on the next season of road to UFC. Like, that's how much development needs to take place right now over here in these Asian markets. So the UFC is definitely doing some legwork, but be warned, guys, these are some low level fights we're talking about. Be careful with your cash this week. I'm coming off a very comfortable, nice winning week. I'm not sure how much betting I'm going to be doing on this card, because we're going to be flipping some coins on some of these fights this week. Got to shout out Mario Carrillo in the chat, says, what's up, fellas? Hayden, are you excited for Tabatha Ricci fight week?
Oh, well, if you didn't know, I'm a huge Tabatha Ricci hater, just because I don't think she's good at all. And she gets decisions based on her rear and her affiliation with her relationship. But yeah, no, I'm so excited. I'm glad she's got to go into enemy territory. Maybe she could get a little counter right to the chin, go down.
That's going to be an interesting one. I can't wait to talk about that fight. That is interesting, because the narrative doesn't quite match up with the matchmaking. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Next fight up, we've got Loner Kavanaugh, and he's taking on Jose Ochoa. So we've got two decent looking prospects here in this one, man. Back-to-back 7-0s. I'm talking a little trash on road to UFC. These guys aren't road to UFC guys. Like, this is a legitimate fight. Loner Kavanaugh, he won on Dana White's Contender Series. He's a 5-time K1 kickboxing champion. He's a BJJ purple belt, and he sparked the kid on Dana White's Contender Series. Absolutely destroyed him with one punch. And I mean, he was down for a long time. Like, that was one of those ones that was like, oh shit, like, he is still not moving. He is very good defensively. He is very elusive. You can tell he's flexible. He's fast. There's a little bit of Peyton Talbot in there. You know what I mean? Where like just he glides around the cage. And then when he goes, he is so explosive. He sprints. And when he goes, he is so much faster than his opponents. Like, he kind of lulls you into a false sense of security, because he's way faster when he explodes than you would think. He's got 5 wins so far by KO of his 7 professional wins. Jose Ochoa, he's making his UFC debut out of the LFA. He was originally scheduled to fight on Dana White's Contender Series as well, but he actually ended up having to withdraw from that. So they're giving him a shot straight into the show here. Now, it's against a guy who was on Dana White's Contender Series, so it's almost like his run. It's almost like his opportunity on Contender Series. But this kid's got a 100% finish rate. He is crazy aggressive. I mean, to the point of being damn near reckless with his forward pressure. Mean in the clinch. He's got nasty clinch knees that he looks for. He's got big winging punches, big looping overhands. I like his left hand. That seems like it's his kind of his moneymaker, if you ask me. Loner Kavanaugh is a minus 375 favorite. Jose Ochoa is a plus 295 underdog right now. And I would have to lean with Loner Kavanaugh, just because I think he's the much more polished striker. I think Ochoa is going to leave opportunities for this guy to counter with those big looping, winging punches. And I think Kavanaugh is going to knock him out, man.
Yeah, I tend to lean that same way. Watching tape on Ochoa, like, the guy's just very aggressive. He's from Shoot the Box, and he's one of those, the Peruvian Shoot the Box. So a little asterisk next to that, because, not full Brazilian. But the guy's very aggressive on the feet. He's going to throw caution to the wind. He hasn't fought in a year, though, which is a little bit weird. His last fight was November of 2023. For a young guy, you'd think he'd pick up some more fights. I know he was supposed to fight in the Contender Series and he had to pull out, but even, earlier on in the year, thought he'd maybe fight a little bit more often. But I think this comes down to just Kavanaugh being a lot more sharper on the feet. Like he's a lot more technical, gonna have a better jab, gonna have just more technical abilities than a Ochoa who's just gonna try to bring the fight to you. And I think Kavanaugh will probably be able to counter him with a bunch of stuff. Maybe he can't put him out because he's a young guy who I'm sure is very tough training at shoot to box. Some of those guys just don't die. Like I think of what's his name, Felipe Lima in his debut against Manel Cop. Like they just won't die. You know, you hit him a bunch of times and it's a lower weight class. So I think Kavanaugh's sharp. I think he's probably going to be piecing him up on the feet and making him pay for every time he overswings. So Kavanaugh for me, the line is pretty wide, but I don't really see a way he loses. Honestly, I think he's sharp enough to deal with the action coming after him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, I'm with you there, and I couldn't agree more. That's one of the ones where I'm pretty convicted on. Obviously, the line reflects it. I quoted that line, you guys. It gives me a beautiful opportunity to talk about my my book sponsor here, Bet Openly, because Loner Kavanaugh is minus 335 over on Bet Openly. You can get exactly the same number plus 335 on Jose Ochoa. The winner pays 1% juice. They are saving literal hundreds of thousands of dollars for gamblers every single month. And that sounds a whole lot better to me than chalking all the way up to about minus 400. So I'm going to probably be looking for Loner Kavanaugh on a parlay. Might look on Bet Openly and see if I can weasel him in there somewhere. But I definitely think he's the real prospect of the two here. And I kind of think that Jose Ochoa is your classic Dana White's Contender Series kid. I think he's going to come in and brawl, and he'll crack a couple of guys and win a couple of fights, but I don't think he's necessarily long for the organization. He's kind of the next Nick Motta for me, man. I feel like he fits that mold.
Yeah, just a shout out to Bet Openly. I'm on my account right now. I've saved $17,800 on Bet Openly.
Damn.
So, shout out to them.
Damn. Guys, one person saved $17,000 playing on this platform. Thank you very much for backing me up on that, Hayden, because I keep trying to it's an iceberg, man. Convincing people that it makes sense to save money with the juice like that. It's tough to get them away from FanDuel and DraftKings. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough to get them over there using it, but long term, it will save you cash at work. So I appreciate you chiming in on that.
No problem.
Let's see here. MMA. Wait a second. Kasungui. Okay, I think that's how you say that. I thought you hate Cage Warriors fighters. You know what? In general, I do. It's kind of like the Dana White's Contender Series fade thing for me, that I have the rule of thumb. Cage Warriors gave us such big prospects. Conor McGregor, Paddy the Baddy. Like we had this run of really incredible guys that came from Cage Warriors. The latest crop are not that good. And I just think they're overhyped because we're trained. Oh, but this guy was Cage Warriors champion. You know, so it's not that I hate them. I just think they're a little overvalued right now. But as always, there are exceptions to those situations.
That might have been for me too. I'm a huge Cage Warriors hater. But honestly, I think there's always a few that you get out of there that are pretty good. Like Obon Elliott last week, he's from Cage Warriors. Some of them are just so overhyped. So it's like, oh, he's a Cage Warriors champion. Well, what does that mean? Is he fighting just complete bums? Because a lot of times they just match him up with bums or guys that they know are supposed to win. So
Jake Hadley.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he was going to get better and be okay. He sucks. He just got cut.
Yeah. I mean, supposedly the Cage Warriors promoter or whatever, he also manages a lot of these fighters from Cage Warriors. Sense. So he's going to match them up rightfully. And then he's trying to get them into the UFC so he can make money off of their UFC contracts. So, sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, that's promoter doing his job, man. That's what they do. You got to get that, shiny 8-0 record or the 10-1 record, get them into the UFC, and then, it's on them from there how they do. So, just as a rule of thumb, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on Cage Warriors guys, especially when they're big numbers, but this one seems like an okay spot to me. Next fight up, we have got Carlos Hernandez, and he takes on Nyamjargal Tumendemberel. Tumendemberel.
Art of knockout. Just call him
Holy crap. Yeah, we'll call the guy Art. Man, okay. So Carlos Hernandez, this poor guy, who did he piss off? Like whose stepdaughter did Carlos Hernandez bang? Because they are using him, specifically him, to try and build road to UFC contender fighters, man. This is the third Asian market fighter that the UFC has been like, Carlos Hernandez. I mean, they tossed him to Tatsuro Taira. They sacrificed the poor guy. And then they gave him Rei Tatsurio, which is one of the very few, I think, solid road to UFC fighters who actually might make waves. They gave him that guy. And now this Nyamjargal guy is getting the opportunity to have the Carlos Hernandez treatment. Like, this poor guy. I feel so bad for Carlos Hernandez. He's going into enemy territory. Again, he didn't get invited to the barbecue when they did the big card in the Sphere in Vegas. They hate him. He seems like a nice guy to me. Oh, man. I got to be honest with you. I have to go back and look. I can't remember exactly. I wanted to bet him against Rei Tatsuria. I either said I was going to wait and see if I wanted to take it live, or I might have pulled the trigger, and I got to double check the record. I can't remember which one it was. I might have dodged that bullet ever so slightly, but I'll be honest with you, man. My read on that fight was right there. Carlos Hernandez is underrated. He's got great cardio. He's actually a very good wrestler. He's a fantastic scrambler. He's got pillow fists. Absolutely no power on the feet to speak of whatsoever. He's the Tony Ferguson death by 1,000 cuts. He'll just volume you up if you let him. But he's got no physicality. He can't get rough with guys. Like, you get these dudes that are just so much more physical and stronger than him, and that's where he tends to fail. But in that Rey fight, round 3 got real interesting. Like, he let Rey work on him until Rey got tired. And every single time he got back up, he scrambled. He made Rey work. And if Rey didn't have the cardio that he did, Hernandez would have TKO'd him in that 3rd round just because he would have had more gas, just because he would have hung around longer. He would have outlasted him. Now, this Tumendemberel, I'm not sure he is cut from the same cloth as those last couple of guys. He looks like he is your typical all-action type of fighter. And let me, for some reason here, man, I'm filibustering here for a second. My notes are out of order for this fight, so I got to get to where my notes are for him here. He's 26 years old. He is 8-0. He's undefeated. And he won on the 2nd Road to UFC show. So now he's making his UFC debut. They just did a 3rd Road to UFC, so they gave him a little bit of time to get some seasoning between his win and his UFC debut, which kind of, where's my tinfoil cap? Like, let me switch hats there for a second. That the UFC didn't shove him straight into the organization, but they made him wait, and now they're giving him the lose to Asians guy. He's extremely aggressive, man. I mean, he throws hard and he throws early. He punches his way into the clinch, and then he just tries to kind of like blow people over, just knocks them over, roughs them up, tries to take him to the ground. But he gets so aggressive that he makes mistakes. I've seen him not be able to hold people. I've seen him slip and lose position and fall off of guys. He looks for ground and pound, and we're talking like floor shaking. He might have broken his own hand ground and pound when he misses. This guy looks for damage down there. But again, it creates an opportunity for his opponent to move. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage over Hernandez in this spot. And what's really weirding me out about this whole thing is they have Carlos Hernandez listed as the favorite. He's minus 200 right now. Nyamjargal is plus 165. And I can't figure out what's happening here because it is obvious. The UFC goes, this kid's fun. This kid's exciting. He is undefeated. We have a proven track record fading Hernandez with exactly these prospects. And the bookies are looking at this and going, we're going to make Hernandez the favorite. I wanted to bet on Hernandez as a plus 250 underdog. I wanted to fade this kid with Hernandez to finally get one back for himself. But now I'm looking at this line and I'm going, that shit's backwards. Like, what? Why is Hernandez such a big favorite? I could understand them making this fight near a pick'em. You want to make Hernandez a minus 130 favorite? I won't even fight you that hard. But minus 200? I don't get this.
Yeah, I would say it's just because of the level of competition has been so bad for this guy. Like, you see 8-0, but I mean, he's fighting out of Mongolia, and his opponents on road to UFC are not good. Like, not good at all. You know, like Topnoy Kirwam or whatever, he's from Thailand. Not much of a ground game, and he still took down Nyamjargal, or however you fucking say it. 6 times. He took him down 6 times. And then is Peter Danizo. He's another just straight up striker, not much grappling. He choked him out in the first. I mean, I think the guy is going to be dangerous. There's no doubt. And obviously, as like an underdog, you probably want your fighter to be able to end the fight. And he obviously could, because the only thing I wrote down on this guy is just aggressive striker. He's looking for a finish at all times. So if Hernandez is throwing those pillow fists out there and Nyamjargal is not respecting it, maybe he could clip him with something. But honestly, I think Hernandez is probably the rightful favorite. Maybe it's a little bit too much. I think he's just better everywhere. Honestly, I think Hernandez could probably find his way to the back and choke him out, just because I don't think this guy's grappling is very good. It hasn't really been tested at all. Like, you see a lot of these Japanese wrestlers on the road to the UFC, and he didn't fight them. He fought 2 Thailand guys, you know, like 2 guys that aren't going to test that whatsoever. And just the experience. I think Hernandez has great cardio. Over the course of 3 rounds, I think he'll be there. I don't know that he's going to get knocked out by this guy that is just kind of swinging to swing. You know, the guy that knocked him out was Tatsuro Taira, and you watched that fight. It was like a perfect right hand that stung him. So I think Hernandez is probably the rightful favorite. I could see him just making Nyamjargal kind of look silly, gassing him out a little bit with these big looping shots that he's throwing and taking over as the fight goes on. And maybe we see a little Dennis Bondar repeat where he hits him with the little throw and pretty much decapitates him with the elbow. And the ref,
that was so crazy.
Yeah, that was a great finish, though. I like to see that from Carlos. But yeah, I think Carlos Hernandez, he's going to be my pick. And rightful favorite, I would probably lean towards like a decision or a submission, maybe sub or decision, because I don't think he knocks him out. Nyamjargal was pretty tough. He's taking some shots. So sub or decision for me.
Bro, I'm gonna get crazy, because I mean, look at this guy. Like, all of China knows he's here. Like, anybody seen Mulan? Get the reference? Look at this guy. He's like freaking. He's got the crazy hat, man. He's out in the mountains of Mongolia. He reminds me of Deiveson Figueiredo. Like, I gotta go with the crazy, man. I'm gonna go with the hairs on the back of my neck that says this thing should be near a pick'em. I think I'm gonna trust Hunter to know what he's doing. This guy has not fought in over a year. So he's an 8-0 prospect at 26 years old that throws absolute bombs. And the UFC was smart enough to keep him on the sidelines for a full calendar year till he was ready. I'm going to have to do it, man. I'm going to say it's Nyamjargal by KO. And I'm going to look for that number, because I got to see what this number looks like. Because with him being like a plus 160 type of underdog, that KO prop has got to be juicy.
That'd probably be the only way I'd play it.
Let's see. Plus 650.
Oh, yeah.
Give me that.
That's not bad. It's not bad.
Give me that. Yeah, we're playing some Nyamjargal KO.
Nyamjargal.
I'm going to call him that the rest of his career. He's Nyamjargal as far as I'm concerned. All right, guys. What was that?
He's got a terrible nickname too, Art of Knockout. Like,
yeah, no, that's got to be a mistranslation. Oh, all right, guys. We've got over 700 of you rocking with us live. Thank you for checking us out. This is Home of Fight, Home of Bets. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're on the quest for 10K, you guys. I want this YouTube channel up and over 10K by the end of the year. We made some serious progress last week. I had a 14-unit positive winning week. Show some love. If you're not subscribed, get in here and get going. Next fight up, we've got Xiaocan Feng taking on Ming. I believe that's how you pronounce those names. Feng is another very interesting prospect here. Feng is 10-2, and she's just 22 years old. She's extremely young, but she's huge, man. She is so tall. She's like extremely long. She keeps her fights long. She knows how to explode and like put her reach with her arms to good use. She likes to flash the knee at her opponents. So anytime they start to like close the range, you can see her kind of reminding them that if you just get a little too close, you might catch this thing to the jaw. Powerful body kicks from the outside. She is a little bit low volume, and she does tend to force her opponents to kind of play her game a little bit. She sets the pace. Feng is Asian Neil Magny. She reminds me of a low-level woman's Neil Magny. She wants to make you slow down, fight her fight, and she'll stay on the outside and pick you apart as long as she possibly can. Ming is 16-5. She is 30 years old. She won her last fight via split decision. She is short. She is compact, and she's got some of the stubbiest little arms you've ever. She's Vanessa Demopoulos. You know what? That's too much credit. She is not good enough to be Vanessa. She is Hannah Cyphers. This is Asian Hannah Cyphers is who Ming is. She just keeps coming forward, man. She's a little ball of fury and wants to walk you down and throw big power shots, but her arms are about this long, so she can't get to you. I mean, this one is well as written as far as I'm concerned, because unless Ming has some grappling chops that I just never saw on film that I'm completely not aware of, I don't know how she's going to close the distance against Feng. I don't know how she's ever going to touch Feng in this spot if Feng doesn't want to let her. Feng is a minus 300 favorite. That is gross. That's disgusting for this low level of a women's MMA fight, especially on a 22-year-old. But I just don't see a path to victory for Ming, man. I don't know how she's going to win this fight.
I'm the same way, man. Like, Ming is like the little engine that could. Because when they brought her in, there's no way they were thinking that this girl was going to be in the final. Like, she's 30 years old, 5'2". She's not like some potent finisher, but she's managed to win her fights. And honestly, I don't think she has much of a chance to win this one because her background says Taekwondo and catch wrestling, but she hasn't shot a takedown in her 2 road to the UFC fights. And I think that's
like
really
the people that get black belts off a KO loss or a KO win.
I think that's her only path here is like, she's not going to be able to strike at range with the 22-year-old who's 5'7", 5 inches taller and a 6-inch reach advantage. And Feng, like, she can be taken down, but I don't know that Ming going to be able to close the distance for one, nor is she going to shoot a takedown. It's one of those fight IQ things, but Ming got solid striking, solid cardio, but it's just not really going to play a factor here, in my opinion, because you're not going to be able to touch her. So, yeah it's Xiaocan Feng for me. Minus 300 is, dare I say, warranted, because like how many times does she lose this fight?
Dude,
I think once.
I legitimately could see Ming following the perfect game plan, sidestepping a kick, closing the distance, swinging an overhand, and still not connecting. Like, that's how short her arms are and how big this girl she's fighting is. I'm with you.
It's like, who do you think they want to win? The 22-year-old or a 30-year-old that has like 20 decisions on her record, you know?
Yeah. Now, this is lamb to the slaughter type of territory. They absolutely are on the Feng side, so I think we have to be. All right, guys, we got a couple more fights to go here. Actually, we got several fights to go here, so buckle in. We've got Kiru Sahota. There we go. Sorry, I've been watching too much My Hero Academia. That came out as Shoto in my head for some reason. Kiru Sahota is taking on Donghoon Choi. Okay, there we go. That one at least is easy enough to say. Fun fight on this one. I actually kind of like it. We've got Donghoon Choi, who's an 8-0 undefeated 29-year-old prospect. This guy's got good head movement, dude. I like the way he moves. Good footwork, cuts angles. He retreats really well. When he wants to move backwards and kind of walk you into something, he's very, very good at that. He's got hard body kicks. He's got a very intelligent jab. I like the way this guy is active with that lead hand. And like I mentioned, he makes you chase him, and then he counters off of that. Choi, I've been comparing these guys to give you guys a frame of reference. You're not going to go back and watch the road to UFC. We did that for you. That's the point of the show. To give you a little bit of a frame of reference, Choi reminds me a little bit of like a Zalal 1.0. You know, since he came back, he's Zalal 2.0. He's kicking ass and taking names now. He's headed for the top 10. But when he wasn't quite so sure of himself, when he wasn't quite as deadly, when he went, 3-3 and got cut by the UFC after a couple cup fights, that's who this guy reminds me of. He fights a lot like Youssef Zalal does. He got busted up real bad in his last fight. His mouth was hanging open, spitting blood out, and he never gave up on himself. And he just kept on coming back into that fight. I like the toughness. I like the overall game plan. I actually think Dong-Hoon Choi is a half decent prospect here. Kiru is 12-2. He's 29 years old. He's another one of these very tall, very skinny, lanky type of guys. I'm asking mom to go pick me up some Javid Basharat, and she says, Clint, we've got Javid Basharat at home. That's Kiru Sahota in this spot here. Very, very much good at staying long. He has got really good kicks. He likes to kick at range. He likes to beat up his opponent's legs, keep them away from them. And then as soon as they do get close, he looks for double underhooks and wants to grind them up against the fence. He's got good intelligent head position, so he knows how to kind of keep you pressed up where he wants you to be. He's got really quick hips too. I saw him get taken down in a fight, and he rolled for an armbar really quick, had his opponent in trouble, and it was right at the end of the round, so he kind of got saved by the bell. It was deep. I feel like if he had a couple more seconds, he might have got it. So that's maybe a wrinkle to this kid's game that we're not quite expecting, but the grappling could potentially be there. Kiru's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage. Man. So this one's tough. Let me find the line here for you guys, because again, I'm sorry, this was all a different order a couple of hours ago. They've kind of shuffled things around here on me. So you have got, why am I not seeing this fight? There we go. Kiru saying Sahota is plus 110 right now. Dong-Hoon Choi is minus 130. And man, I think I like the short chalk here. I think I'm going to go with Choi. And this is one that I like the way the kid fights enough. It might actually be a bet for me. What are you doing here?
I'm kind of leaning the other side just because I think Sahota's frame could maybe give Dong-Hoon Choi some problems. Because at times he's kind of sitting there staring a little bit. And if Sahota can keep the range, then I think he could probably lull himself to where Choi's just not throwing too much. Choi's not really a big grappler. And when he was landing most of his strikes against that Angad Bish, the Indian dude, Bish is like all for momentum, in your face boxer type. So he was able to try to counter off that and try to wear him down that way. This Sahota guy, I get mixed feelings about, because like I love the frame. His striking is kind of awkward, and he can get taken down out in off the cage. But if he's on the cage, he's got pretty good takedown defense. I don't know why, but Sahota like tries to offensively grapple. I'm like, dude, you're 5'10". These guys are like 5 inches shorter than you, and he's like shooting double legs. I don't understand it. So I don't think the Sahota guy has much fight IQ. I think he's probably got a little bit more potential just considering his frame. But Choi is a decent fighter. I mean, he's still undefeated. His 2 fights on the road to UFC were both splits, so maybe he's a little bit undervalued coming in here. But personally, I'd probably just lean towards a dog or pass on Sahota, just considering I don't really like either guy. And I think Sahota could probably steal one if it's just playing out on the feet.
Okay, a little bit of disagreement here on that one, and hey, those coin flip fights, that'll definitely do that to us sometimes. It's easy to agree on the minus 600 favorites. Shout out Aaron Harlock in the chat, says, I'm late. Howdy, Clint. Hope it was a good week. And in fact, Aaron, it was. Thank you for checking in. My boy VB MMA says, what's up, Clint? Kind of liking Feng inside the distance. My boy VB coming off a beautiful night himself, and I'm not sure you're going to get too much disagreement from either of us with that call at plus 400.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a half bad idea to me. I'll be curious to see if that line sticks around for when these props open up stateside, because that's a pretty decent number. And my guy, Dan, half the battle says, is that Michael Mayday McDonald? I'm missing the reference, Dan. Is that a fighter I should know? I'm not sure who Michael McDonald is.
I'm going to look it up. Michael,
yeah, I know, right? We got to Google here.
McDonald.
Oh, okay. You do look a little like him. I could see it.
I get the Paul Hughes references all the time. Marvin Vittori, when I had longer hair.
I was going to say, you need the hair for the Vittori, but I could see it. Yeah. Good stuff. What's up, Dan? Thanks for coming on to the show, man. Definitely appreciate you being here. All right, guys. Next up, we've got Su Young Yu Jiu-Jitsu. Now, that's a fun nickname. That's a good nickname. He's taking on Balgyn Jenisuly. And again, I am butchering these names, but I'm trying my best, you guys. I need to hire a translator because these are tough. Oh, man. So, Sung Hu Yu, 13-3, 28 years old. This guy was in an absolute brawl in his last fight. He seems like a guy that is willing to take the fight wherever it goes. You know, if you want to grapple, okay, let's grapple. If you want to chuck bungalows, okay, let's chuck bungalows. Like it is all action with this guy. He steps on the gas and he's running around the cage trying to do anything he can to hurt you and get to you. He does fade away a little bit, I noticed, with his chin up. He's got a little bit of kind of tall man's-esque defense, but he does a good job of mixing in takedowns with his aggression. He is constantly swinging. He's been chin-checked a bunch of times. I'm going to go ahead and say he's durable. He's a little reckless, so I'm not sure how long that'll last at the UFC level, but against guys his level, it seems like he can take a punch, and he can just kind of keep on coming. He does look like he is physically strong. The pull counters are on point. He dips off to the side, and he blitzes with big overhands. Just a tough, $2 steak type of fighter. I like this guy. I think he's going to be really, really fun. But what I noticed looking at some of his fights, and especially looking at his record, he doesn't seem to be able to separate himself. Like, he fights so relentlessly and forces you into a brawl that if he's not getting the finish, it's going to be like a toss-up 50-50. We don't know who the fuck won that type of fight. So I think he's going to fight close in places and could potentially get burned by that down the road if he doesn't fix that up just a little bit. Now, Jenisuly, 19-5, 28 years old. This guy was a contender on road to UFC 2. Like I mentioned, they're just recycling some of these prospects that they think are anywhere near going to be UFC level someday. So he's back. He starts very fast. He's got a big right hand. This is a bullying grappler from what I saw, but I've seen him make some mistakes. In his last fight, he fell off almost immediately in the very first round and ended up stuck on bottom against his last opponent. He did very well defensively once he was down there, but he basically rode the rest of the round out on his back. So I think you can kind of bully this guy a little bit. In the next 2 rounds, however, he dug deep and he just kept coming. You could not keep him off of you. He keeps pushing. He'll grind you up against the cage. He will wear you out. He's got a good sprawl on him. He's got heavy hips, and he attacks chokes. Like, from any position, he's looking to try to attack to submit people. And I kind of like that offensive nature from him. I like the don't quit that both of these guys have going. I think Jenisuly by sub is a sneaky way to look at this fight, because I could see Su Young Yu getting a little over aggressive, wearing himself out, and then being vulnerable a little bit later in the fight. But on the feet, I also think that Su Young Yu is probably the side. This is going to be a close, tough fight, in my opinion, man. I like this one. It should be fun from a viewing perspective. Let me find the line for you guys here on this one. Because what the hell? Where'd this one go?
I think Yu's like a slight favorite.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not seeing it on DraftKings.
Is -150 for you.
Okay.
+30 for Jenisuly.
Okay. Thank you for finding that for me. That I find that interesting. The Jenisuly is the underdog. Interesting. Very interesting. Close fight. I'm glad it's lined competitively. DraftKings doesn't appear to have it up. And I bounce usually back and forth between Bet Openly and DraftKings is kind of my 2 main books that I use for go-to numbers, since DraftKings is just kind of the most common these days. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody knows DraftKings, so I like to use their numbers for quoting. They don't have it up yet. So there you go. Looks like -150 +130-ish at Bet Online. Hayden, what do you think about this fight, man? Who do you like?
I mean, at their base, I think both guys are just grapplers. And I think both guys could probably sub each other, because I think they're both pretty aggressive. Su Young Yu just shoots takedown after takedown after takedown, and Balgyn, he can get put on his back, and maybe he stays there for a while, but if he finds a good position, he's going to attack that submission. So I think Jenisuly, I don't even know what to call him.
Jenisuly, I think.
Because on the UFC website, it's completely different. It says GLEC or something like that. But I think he's live for a sub, because if he finds something, he's going to go for it. On the feet, I actually think Jenisuly, whatever, he's a little bit better, in my opinion. I think Su Young Yu just tries to use his striking to set up a takedown. Mm-hmm. So I think as the fight goes on, Jenisuly could maybe be piecing him up on the feet if he starts to tire. So I'm kind of leaning towards the dog here with the Chinese fighter. I'll just call him that, the Chinese fighter or the Korean.
Oh man, I'm seeing that now. You're not kidding. Jailisi. Oh my good. Jailisi? Man, that's going to be tough. I need John Anik's help. It looks like they've got his sub prop at plus 475 if you're looking at that side. So that I don't hate the flyer on that. You buy points plus 140, I think is interesting because if he's able to keep this fight standing, he probably just does better work on the feet, in my opinion, at least. I know you're saying you kind of feel like the other side has the better striking. So close fight, man. This one could be tough. Fight goes the distance, minus 150. I don't necessarily hate that. So there's some options on this fight. I feel like the numbers are good on almost anything you'd want to bet. So I feel like you can make an argument for almost anything on this fight.
Yeah, I'm just glad it's the last road to the UFC fight we got to talk about.
Yep. We got some better stuff to get to.
I'm kind of pissed because the one fight, the Kang Ji-Ju and Bin Shi, I actually like Kang Ji-Ju to win that fight, but then he pulled out. So the one fight I was actually looking forward to is off. So yeah, we're done with that now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And that was a tough fight to lose. I like that one as well. All right, guys. Hey, we got Joshua Snyder says, son of a bitch. I forgot the stream. I'm going to have to watch it tomorrow. It's all good, Josh. Thanks for being here, buddy. You can watch the replay. Appreciate the comment. All right, guys. Next up, we've got sponsors. We've got the Home of Fight. As I mentioned earlier in the show, my guy Hayden is one of the premium players here for Home of Fight. Over the course of the year, right around up 140 units. We do usually run a promo so you can try out the service for free, 5 to 7 days, somewhere in that ballpark. We are working on a code. We don't have one yet for this week. I will update the description of this video when we do get an updated code. You can try 309. I'm not sure it's still active, but that was the one for last week. At any rate, I swing from the rafters. I'm the fun, degenerate guy. These guys are consistent and they chip away and they've been going up. So make sure you check that out. If you're looking to purchase picks or you want to tail somebody without thinking about it, check out the Home of Fight premium plays. Next up, Spectation Sports. Promo code DieHard will get you a 20% discount on your subscription. If you want to watch MMA, especially young up-and-comers, especially if you're doing tape for next week's Dana, or not next week, next year's or next season's Dana White's Contender Series, this is the place to be. Baroka is coming up this week. It's a brand new MMA event. It is Baroka 1. It's their very first event ever, and it's a fun one. You've got North Iowa fights coming up as well at the end of the month. Make sure you check it out. Again, promo code DieHard to get yourself 20% off. My boys over at Fight Numbers can help you out if you're trying to win money playing DFS on MMA. The tools they offer on this site are second to none. They've got trends, they've got calculators, they have projections for ownership. They have absolutely helped me go from just donating every single week in DFS to being able to at least win a little bit of my money back. And if you're serious about it, they probably can help you actually win money. So check out the link in the description below for Fight Numbers. I have failed to mention my man Nuke the House a few too many times recently, you guys. The #1 best gambler I've ever met in my entire life. My guy, the Sports Keg, he runs Nuke the House. And if you use promo code Clint, that, not DieHard like everybody else because he's an idiot and I don't know why he did that, but that's what we ended up with. CLINT. You get a week free of his service to try it out. They made 30 units over the weekend on Sunday. This guy is a live betting machine. And if you just blindly tail his NFL live bets, it's insane what he does. He also is a NASCAR savant. They hit 12 and 14 to 1s with regularity on the weekends when NASCAR season is going. Make sure you check out Nuke, you guys. Let him know that Clint sent you. They're doing a live stream for the football game tonight. So after we're done with this podcast, jump on over to Nuke the House and check out their NFL live stream. Make sure you said Clint sent you so I get a little bit of credit for that. But if you want to try the free picks for a week, promo code CLINT. Finally, bet openly. We talked about it earlier in the evening. You guys know what's up. It's the future of gambling, baby. Peer-to-peer betting. We have saved $8.5 million for gambling. It is 1% juice. Only the winner pays. Everybody gets better numbers using this platform. And the more people we get on it, the more of these bets are going to be flying around. Like we talked about before, Loner Kavanaugh on this site for this weekend's fights, minus 335 on this site. Jose Ochoa is a plus 335 underdog. So it's fair. Both sides get the same number. Whoever wins only has to pay 1% juice. On top of that, one thing I've been doing is these giveaways. Hayden, I might need your help one of these days. They've got an instant book DFS feature that I love. And I've been I've been polling my Twitter. I've been crowdsourcing. I'm getting goals and touchdowns and stuff like that from people. And we just build a little parlay here. Now, this instant book feature, it's not peer-to-peer. Nobody has to take your bet. This is housed, the one thing that is actually housed by Bet Openly. And you can get some ridiculous numbers on some of these. Parlay 3, 4, 5, goal scorers, touchdown scorers, whatever you want together. And if I hit one of these, you guys, I'm paying it all back. But you got to sign up for Bet Openly. You got to deposit, throw $20 in the account, something like that. Check it out, give it a test. But then when I hit one of these, I'm giving it all back. Like, we're going to do contests. We're going to do giveaways. I am giving out massive amounts of money on this platform. So you just got to show us a little bit of love, a little bit of support, and I'll be able to boost your bankroll and give away some cash on Bet Openly. We've got the gauntlet that's running right now. $600 in cash prizes for people that use Bet Openly. This is the 4th time I've run this bankroll contest for MMA. And the winner is going to be crowned this weekend at these fights. We're giving away $600. So just sign up, use Bet Openly, throw $20 in, try it out, and then I'll be able to hopefully hook you up with some of these contests and things like that. We'll get you some extra beef on that bankroll. We're back, guys. It's the home of fight. 800 live viewers already. My guy Hayden from Hey Jive Picks hanging out with us, talking fights this evening. Make sure you support him. Again, absolutely massive following on Instagram, so you guys probably already know him. But if you're from the Twitter sphere, give him a follow. Like, this guy's Twitter numbers need to get up. Those are rookie numbers. Pump those numbers up a little bit, baby. Hayden, I gotta ask, is the weirdest thing, I can't get people to follow me on Instagram, but I've got 20K on Twitter. Like, you're kind of the opposite. You've got a massive following on Instagram, and why do people pick one platform to like us? I'm not sure why. It's not like I can't have like even numbers on everything. It's like one group likes you.
I'm not super active on Twitter. I've tried to be more often, but sometimes it's just like, I don't know. I'm just not super active on Twitter. I go on it all the time. I should post more, just to get my account out there, but I just don't. But
that's probably it. That's probably it. Because I'm the guy that when you text me and you ask me what I want for dinner, I'm not going to send you back like a paragraph with all the information. I'm going to send you 4 texts as my brain thinks through the line items that I want. So on Twitter, I'm way more active. I'm constantly sending shit on Twitter. So I think that's probably why. That's probably why Twitter kind of gravitates towards me a little bit.
Yeah. I want to go back to the Bet Openly thing, because the DFS, the instant DFS, I'm a huge DFS guy.
Yes,
with
you are.
Underdog, Better, and I don't use Prize Picks, but Prize Picks is one of the biggest ones. And on the year, that's where I make a lot of my profit, is on DFS. On the year, I'm up over 50 units on DFS. So if you want, I could send you a DFS play on Bet Openly for UFC this Saturday, and you can use that one for the giveaway. Hopefully we hit it. But that's bread and butter.
Oh, that sounds like a heck of an idea right there, because I'm a basic degenerate. Like I said, touchdown scorers, goal scorers in hockey, like that's all I'm rolling. I'm not good at like the yards over under or the shots on goal or, so and I've never even tried the DFS for MMA. So I would love that. We could give that a crack and see if we could print some money here and then do a giveaway for the people. That would be awesome.
People thought I was crazy taking the under on Bo Nickel takedowns, but dude never shot a single takedown. So
what a call. I can't believe that fight played out so weirdly to me. I mean, Bo was in the driver's seat basically the whole time, but I kind of expected him to just sit on top of Craig. I thought it might go over, which I'm kicking myself because I called Bo by decision at plus 750. And then my card was so crazy. I was sitting there on Saturday morning and I'm looking at all my plays and I was like, gosh dang, dude. Like if I go wrong on a couple of these and then also Bo by decision, like I'm going to get mocked relentlessly because my card was just so chaotic. I couldn't stand to throw another one in there. Would have hit that too. It's like I couldn't miss on Saturday. So great call by you, not to go
the best
under.
plays you can make are when people say there's no way this is hitting or there's no way that's happening because he's on it. Like you got to think a little bit differently sometimes.
Dude, it's always the minus. The fight doesn't go the distance at minus 1200. That's always the one that goes the full way. Like Charles Oliveira Chandler, how did that go a full 25?
That one I thought there was no chance, but of course it happened. So Charles by decision was like plus 1,200 or something
Unreal.
like that. It's crazy.
Unreal. Never expected that. Anyway, absolute wild stuff right here, man. Absolute wild. The Real Dark Knight asking, did you go over the Hernandez fight yet? Yes, we did. So Dark Knight, go ahead and hit that rewind, catch up to us later, come back after the live stream or whatever. Bad MMA Bet says the Brazilian lesbian with neck tattoo record. He actually went back and looked at some numbers. 7-3 plus 6.6 units. So it is straight up something that I discovered that I've been blindly betting. Bad MMA Bets has put some numbers to it. It is up 6.6 units if you take the angle. Thank you, Bad MMA. Absolutely appreciate it. And then Bello says, longtime follower there. Hey, Jive. So you got some support.
Appreciate
in
it,
the
bro.
chat. That's what's up. All right. And then my guy Dream here firing up. Dream, I'm sorry. I can't highlight every one of your comments, buddy. You are in the chat every single time. Always showing love. Always showing support. So I apologize if you feel a little neglected, Dream. You're one of my boys, and you're always having something great to say. So thank you for being involved in the conversation. Next fight up, Ozzy Diaz takes on Mingyang Zhang, the Mountain Tiger. That is a good, solid nickname there, Mingyang Zhang. Ozzy Diaz, 9-2, 33 years old, trains out of King's MMA. This is another Dana White's Contender Series fighter. However, this is a Dana White's Contender Series loser. This man came in and was sacrificed at the altar of Joe Pyfer. Poor bastard. He came in and got thrown to the wolves, gets absolutely wrecked by Joe Pyfer in that fight, made it to round 2, which is, that's something. That's not nothing. Goes to the LFA, back-to-back finishes. Round 1 flying knee, and then a round 2 ground and pound TKO victory over former UFC fighter Bevon Lewis, a guy that I actually was always pretty high on fading. So not overly impressed with the Bevon Lewis. No, I'm just kidding. Anytime you can go out on the regional scene and get a win over a former UFC fighter, that's the type of thing where you're like, okay, levels, right? Like you're getting some decent work, decent opponent. They at least sold the UFC on the fact that they were UFC level at one point in their lives. It's definitely a good win. So back-to-back finish wins for Ozzy Diaz. Now he's turning around, making his UFC debut. Mingyang Zhang is 17-6, 26 years old. This guy was on the road to UFC all the way back in 2022. And now he's getting his second crack here in the UFC. They gave him Brinson Hibario in his UFC debut. This was back in February, UFC 298, if you guys recall. And he got the big round 1 KO in that spot. Now, Brinson Hibario, since then, I'll be honest with you, man. I kind of thought Brinson Hibario was a bit of a bum. I thought he was a little bit chinny. I was not high on this guy, especially after that fight. But he went a full 15 minutes with Gadziasulov, which I don't think Magomed Gadziasulov is very good either. But then he went to a split decision very recently with Kyle Machado in a fight that was worthy of cutting both guys. If you remember that Kyle Machado fight, Pro drops down from heavyweight, has absolutely no power, can't pull the trigger. It's a staring contest. They're basically just slow dancing the entire 15. Goes to a split, and the judges are like, fuck if we know. So terrible, absolutely terrible fight to be involved in, to watch, to have to suffer through. But thank God, Mingyang Zhang took absolutely no part in any of that and cracked the guy, knocked him out in round 1. So one of the few prospects that might have a little juice behind him coming in here in this spot. So it is interesting because Zhang's already got one foot in the door at the UFC level. He's already got a big KO win in the UFC. Ozzy Diaz, brand new to the organization, but he is a stateside fighter. He is a guy who is not coming from the road to UFC, and you and I are both a little bit biased against these road to UFC guys. You've got Zhang as a minus 300 favorite in this spot. Ozzy Diaz is a plus 240 underdog. And just on principle, I kind of feel like it might be a little dog or pass. Like, I don't know if I can suffer a minus 300 price tag when I feel like the guy might need a KO. Talk to me about this one, man. I'm honest. I'm not super comfortable with this fight. I'm not as familiar as I should be with Ozzy Diaz. And Mingyang Zhang is one of these guys that I didn't have a lot to say on him last time. And then we watched his fight, and it's against a bad opponent, and he got him out of there early. So I haven't learned much about him. So I really just don't have a great grip on this one, but it feels like minus 300's got to be wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I remember this Ozzy Diaz guy when he fought Joe Pyfer, and you said he kind of got thrown to the lambs, but he was pretty much a pick 'em against Joe Pyfer. And like it was like a 50-50 fight. The odds makers said 50-50. And he got knocked out in the second. And then he took nearly 2 years off and then comes back at light heavyweight and has rattled off 2 wins. So I don't know if the UFC just needs more bodies at light heavyweight, but I don't think Ozzy Diaz is that great. And the fact that they're going to fly him all the way out to China to take on the Chinaman kind of tells me like they are bringing this guy in to lose. But Zhang is still only 26. He's had a lot of professional MMA experience, a lot of cans. But honestly, I think he's probably just a lot faster, a lot more powerful, and maybe a little bit more durable because I don't think Ozzy Diaz has the greatest chin. Watch his fights, his most recent fights. Like he's getting hit a little bit. He's not really liking what's coming at him. He's getting taken down. So I think Zhang's probably super live for a round 1 or 2 KO, most likely round 1. But if he doesn't get him out of there in round 1, like I don't think he's got the greatest cardio. I don't think he's got the greatest overall game. So then that minus 300 starts to look a little bit sketchy. But most likely, I think it's probably a Zhang KO round 1 because I don't think Ozzy Diaz is really that great. He's 34, making his debut. And like you said, he's lost in the Contender Series, had his shot. So I think it's Zhang.
Oh, man. Let me go back. I thought he was 32. Maybe I read that wrong. Oh, yeah. Okay. He's turning 34. You are correct. And not that, 32 to 34 are not the craziest thing in the world, but it does kind of frame things a little bit differently if you're making your debut. And they're obviously trying to push the Asian fighters. So you're probably right. This is one of those ones, guys. There's one every week where I'm like, I need to do just a little bit more work before I feel confident in saying much of anything. So I'll join you. I'll say the UFC knows what they're doing. We'll pick the favorite here to go ahead and get the win. But I'm definitely not laying that price tag, at least not at this point, guys. If you see me tweet out my card later on and post my picks and I have parlayed up the favorite or something like that, it's because I did the legwork and I feel comfortable at that point. My opinion's shifted. Right now, don't quite know enough to be able to go ahead and say that solidly. Stacy and Paul Doc says, first time watcher, I'm liking and subscribing. That's what's up. Thank you very much. Welcome to the home of fight family. Matt says Diaz is horrible. He was getting smoked by Campbell before he found the late finish. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to go check that one. My guy Dream taking the shot on the big dog here. And Chalky Bets, that's what's up. Use my profit boost on Jordan Addison anytime TD and made a quick 400. Oh, you love to hear it, Chalky. Hayden, I gave out Jordan Addison on Sunday as my touchdown scorer of the day. So love to hear that. He was due. He was so due.
First quarter touchdown, first or second quarter? It's first half.
It was first half. I think it was the second quarter. Yeah, but he just, man, there's been, I'm a Vikings fan. Every single game, there's been at least 3 plays where Addison would just still be running. Like they never see him. He beats his guy. He's wide open behind the defense. And if you could just get him the damn ball, he'd be gone. And it's happened so many times in a row that, Twitter's obviously blowing up. Vikings Twitter, everyone, no one's having it because they're like, throw the damn ball to Jordan Addison. I was like, I'll bet you coach is going to get in Sam Darnold's ear today. Like today's the day. He's going to catch one. So love to hear that we made some cash on that. Chalky Bets. Good shit.
I got to ask, why are you a Vikings fan?
Married into it, man. So I'm an Arizona boy. Grew up in the desert.
Right?
Yeah. So it's funny actually. I was one of those you guys, the goofy, happy-go-lucky, lucky, geeky nerd that's very self-aware and very confident in himself. Didn't exist back in the day, bro. I was the most insecure, like the term didn't exist back when I was in high school, but like I would have called myself an alpha. You know what I mean? Like I would have been that guy. And I play football. I don't watch football. You know what I mean? Like that was like my attitude on everything. So I didn't watch football at all. So I guess I kind of cheered for the Cardinals because I'm an Arizona kid, that kind of thing. But frankly, I didn't care. And then I got into the UFC and I was doing jiu-jitsu in college when I meet this girl. So I never really had a team that I was like attached to. her family is all from Minnesota. They migrated out here to Arizona. And so we started doing Viking Sundays with her family every single week as we got serious. And yeah, the rest is history. I'm all team Vikings now. I've been watching them for years.
I'm from Wisconsin, so we hate the Vikings. I'm not a Packer fan personally, but everybody hates the Vikings and the Bears. So I don't really hate them, but you know,
those in-division rivalries, man, you got to love it. I feel you. All right, guys, let's move on here to the next fight. We've got Volkan Oezdemir, no time, and he takes on Blackjack Carlos Ulberg. Okay, Hayden. Oh, I'm gonna need your help a little bit on this one, man, because
man,
I am
towards you.
Well, so Carlos Ulberg is a guy that I have to take the Charles Oliveira approach with. People who have been watching, listening since I started, way back in the day, 6 years ago, baby. I thought Charles Oliveira was a fraud. I can't tell you how many times I jumped on not this microphone, because this is a new one. You know, the shitty old one that sounded terrible. I jumped on my microphone and would tell people how he's got no heart, how the kid quits, how he's chinny. And it took me losing just piles of money betting against Charles Oliveira every opportunity that I could to finally go, you know what? There was a day when that was true. There was a time when Charles Oliveira used to fold up and quit and go home a little bit. But it's been a good 2 years since that happened. And now he's just fucking everybody up. And then he took the title. And now he's one of the GOATs. I mean, like, I was right about Charles Oliveira for a span of about a year and a half. And then the rest of his career, I was wrong. I have felt the same way about Carlos Ulberg. I felt like he was the odd man out over at City Kickboxing. You know, this guy's doing Love Island or whatever the reality show is, the Bachelor over there for Australia. Like, I'm like, this guy ain't real. Like, this guy, he's Andrew Tate. Like, he's getting all the girls and he's getting the soft matchups. He's no good. I thought he was a bum, man. And you see in a couple of fights where he gets a little overexcited, doesn't get the finish, and then gasses out. The Kennedy and Njoku fight. That's the one that let me know I was right. I was like, you drag him deep, you tire him out, and he's dead. He's got nothing left to offer. Since then, this man has rattled off 6 straight wins, and he's flatlined damn near everybody, including a round 3 comeback sub over Dawoon Jung. That night, I played sub round 3, my friend. But it was Dawoon Jung sub round 3. I never expected Carlos Ulberg to have gas or the know-how to pull off any kind of submission deep in that fight. So reverse card at me there on that one. I think I've learned to respect Carlos Ulberg, man. He's fought a little bit of questionable competition. Njoku's no longer in the UFC. Negamariano is my favorite meathead. He's not very good, but like he'll just break you with physicality if you give him the chance to. Ihor, he's not good. Dawoon Jung, he was kind of good at one point. Seems like he's kind of, faded out a little bit. I'm still not sure what Alonzo Minifield is, but when he gets these guys, he's handling them appropriately. It's 60-second KOs. It's 12-second KOs. Like when he fought Dawoon Jung and he was in that fight, and there were moments where he struggled and he got dragged into deep waters and he showed he's got cardio. And then on top of that, finishing ability deeper in the fight. That was the one. I was like, okay, all right. I got to kind of just tip the cap a little bit to Carlos Ulberg. Volkan Oezdemir, I feel like we have been watching a slow, steady death from Volkan. He is 35 years old. They call him no time, but frankly, he only ever knocks out anybody who's chinny. Go back and look. Johnny Walker, the guy that loses all sense of any physical ability whatsoever. Ilir Latifi, an old busted back who belongs a weight class below. Jimmy Manawa, the chinniest fighter to ever grace this weight class. He doesn't actually have the kind of power that they rave about when he's on, when they talk about him in these fights. Now, he got my doppelganger there, Bogdan Guskov, when he made his UFC debut. I thought Bogdan was going to be the guy. I really thought Bogdan was going to be the guy to come in here and crack Volkan early and really kind of announce himself. It took him a fight or two to get his feet wet in the UFC, and now he's kind of getting rolling the direction that I thought he would when he first showed up. But we have seen a couple of sketchy moments from Volkan. It doesn't seem like he's got that willingness to get hit the way that he used to. It doesn't seem like he has the same dig deepness in him that he used to. And when you're fighting a couple of guys that either don't have a grappling ability or don't have a chin, like, yeah, he'll get those wins. But I just feel like he's so ripe to be taken advantage of. And I think that's what the UFC is doing here, man. I think Carlos Ulberg he's been brought along the right way. He took one lesson, he learned it, and he's developed since then. And now this is his moment to kind of put it all together. I really think it's going to be, I think it's going to be Ulberg, man. I hate to say it. I don't really like the price tag here because Ulberg is minus 250, and that seems a little heavy. But with what we've seen from Volkan Oezdemir, Ulberg's faster, Ulberg's younger, he's got better footwork, and I think he just hits harder. So if it's going to be a first to land type of situation, I think it's Ulberg.
Yeah, I think it probably comes down to just faster and better footwork, just because I think Ulberg's ability to fight from the outside is a little bit better. Oezdemir is kind of a guy that's got to get on the inside, let his hands go a little bit because he's a little bit more flat-footed, tries to knock you out with the big shot. And when he's going up against Johnny Walker, I mean, it's not exactly the toughest test. But I've been kind of an Oezdemir stan, man. I've been riding with Oezdemir for a while, and getting that KO with Johnny Walker just felt like the freest money, just considering Johnny where he's at in his career. But I look back on Ulberg, and I'm like, oh my God, we really got plus money on Ulberg against Tafon and Shukwi. And then we got him.
I was biting on Tafon.
And then we got him at like minus 135 against Nikolay Negumarianu. And then they started to kind of come to their senses, and he's been a bigger favorite every fight. And I think this is probably a winnable fight for him. I could probably see it being a 29-28 where it goes to Ulberg. Because I don't know that Oezdemir is going to be getting knocked out easily here. I mean, the only guy that's really knocked him out in the past several years is Yuri Prochazka, and it was a nasty one. So I think they'll be swinging it out, and Ulberg's probably going to be looking to bounce around the cage, bigger cage, use his footwork, and chip away as the fight goes on. Maybe he could crack him with that big left hook early on, but I don't really see it. I think it probably goes to a decision, and I think Ulberg gets his hand raised. So I'm leaning towards Ulberg. But, if Oezdemir can slow him down a little bit, I know you had that little angle that maybe Ulberg slows down in the third round and came back to bite you. I was actually on decision, Ulberg decision in that fight.
Oh, wow.
Went to the decision, and then they called it back and said that he tapped with 11 seconds left, and I was pissed.
Right at the end.
I was so pissed. But yeah, I think he probably comes in here and gets a win. My question is, though, all these canceled bouts. I mean, he's had like 5 canceled bouts in the last between his one fight that he's had. So what's going on with him that he's having to pull out with these injuries? So is he healthy and everything?
Yeah, so against Dominic Reyes, Ulberg injury, the time they rebooked it, Reyes withdrew from that one. And then the Alonzo Menifield fight, it looks like it just got canceled, or they rescheduled it. What happened on that one? That was a weird one because I remember laughing at that. I feel like something happened on weigh-in day or something. I'm going to have to look at that one. I don't remember. And then he was actually booked against my guy Jamal Hill, and Hill was the one that got hurt. So
yeah, and then
it's been about 50-50.
He was supposed to fight Anthony Smith, and then Ulberg withdrew.
Yeah. So it looks like he only had 2 that he withdrew. So it's not as bad as it looks, but it's still weird.
Yeah, I don't think his 6-fight win streak is really all that impressive, honestly. Just considering his best win is Alonzo Menifield, and Oezdemir's fought a lot of good guys. Like he's losing to Krylov. Krylov just wrestle fucked him. Ankalaev and Yuri Prochazka. And so I think it'll be a close fight. I don't see either guy running away with it. But I do lean Ulberg just because of the footwork and the speed.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't mind the decision look here, because with these types of guys, you would think it would be an easy KO. Fight goes the distance is plus money, it looks like. Remember, guys, we're using the other gloves. And one of the big complaints that fighters have about the new gloves is that it doesn't pad their hand in the right way. Like they're not biting down as hard as they used to when they throw, because they feel they're going to break their hands. It feels a little bit looser, like it's not as firm and as solid in there for them. So if you've got Ulberg, who's a little afraid to death gas, and you've got Volkan, who doesn't actually hit as hard as they claim he does, and we've got the gloves that tend to send fights over, yeah, man, maybe we should be looking at an over on this fight instead of looking at an under. Buck the trend a little bit.
The worst part is I played the over in the last fight with Ulberg, and then
Oof.
Benefield just runs out there and gets clipped in 12 seconds. So, if Oezdemir does that, then that over 1.5, said at -160. I actually don't hate that, but
I blame Benefield for that one, man. That was the lowest IQ move I've ever seen.
That was the fastest loss of an over I think I've ever had.
I thought he was gonna try to clinch him and drag him down to the ground and use that weight, get heavy on top of him, tire him out. Nope, face first, right? Like you were saying, man, fighter IQ. I don't know what they're thinking.
Harry was in his ear. He said, "Go get him! Go get him!" He ran over across and got clipped.
They're saying you're boring in the back, man. You got to go make this a show. All right, guys. Next up, we've got Cong Wang, and she's taking on Gabriela Fernandez. Bro, I love Cong Wang. She's the new Joker. She's over here making waves already. It's only her second UFC fight. She does the full-on face paint when she comes in for face-offs, and she looks good. She's got 2 KO wins, 2 submission wins, and 2 decision wins in her professional career. And you're like, man, she's only got 6 fights. Yeah, she's only got 6 fights, but she's a world-class kickboxer, man. She's got a win over Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing from all the way back in 2015. She is women's Alex Pereira. They're trying to build the script. She's moved over to MMA from kickboxing. If Val still has the belt by the time she gets there, Cong is the fight. They are trying to get Cong up there for the kickboxing rematch. The script is written. She's taking on Gabriela Fernandez, a woman who essentially has one tool in women's MMA. She's fucking huge. This girl is 31 years old, and she's absolutely massive. Now, she's training out of MMA Masters, and you guys know I like MMA Masters. My guy Trey Ogden over there just doing the Lord's work as far as game planning and making sure people are in the right place, ready to go. I'm sorry. MMA Masters is the wrong gym. That's Colby Covington's place where he's been training. Never mind. Scratch that. I'm mixing my places up. Anyway, since she got to the UFC from LFA, she is 1-2. Her only win is by split decision, man. She is lumbering. She is big. She is slow. She hits decently hard. If you stand still and let her crack you, she can knock me out. If I stand still and let her hit me, I'm going down. There's no question about it. But if I move around a little bit, she ain't catching me. I've got about 40 extra pounds on me, and she ain't catching me. That's how slow she is in the cage. And what's crazy about this, I need to see these two face off. I have to see them face off, because I've always talked about just how physically imposing Gabriela Fernandez is. Per the numbers on the site, Cong Wang is the exact same height and reach as Gabriela Fernandez. I need to know if that's true. I got to watch on Friday, you guys. We will do the undefeated post-weigh-in show. I'll break out that tinfoil cap. If Cong Wang is the same size as Gabriela, I know she's big, but holy crap, that would be she's massive and really good. Cong Wang is dangerous, dude. She's already getting submission wins in MMA. She's taken to this sport like a fish to water, and she's got nasty striking. She's got beautiful power. She's going to finish Gabriela Fernandez, man. This is a spot where it's chalk. It's good chalk. I don't think Gabriela can go a full 15 minutes with her, even if she tries to wrestle her, take her down, any of that kind of thing. We've seen Gabriela Fernandez on the back foot with people like Teresa Bleda trying to crack her and hit her with big shots and not really liking it. So I absolutely think this is a Cong Wang shines type of moment. If you ever needed somebody to load up and help bring the price tag down on everybody else, if you want to anchor Cong Wang, you have my permission to do so. I think she rolls here in a big, big way.
You're really that confident in her?
I'm pretty confident in her, man. I like the way she moves. I like the way she hits. And frankly, it's also just a disappointment level of Gabriela Fernandez. I just don't think she's very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think she wins, but she's like minus 800, which is crazy to me. Just considering her win in the UFC is Victoria Leonardo. You know, like I know it looked great. It was a great knockout, but everybody's done that to Vicky except I think Mandy Bohm, and we know how Mandy Bohm is.
Well, hey, no, there will be no Victoria Leonardo slander on this podcast. She just won by finish in LFA, man. So that's
somebody.
No, I'm just messing with you.
This chat here from Emily. I don't know what that is what language that is, but I'm sure it has some insight on something.
Google Translate, please, somebody. What is that?
Is that
no, man? But you know what though, the comparison I made, no joke though, for Alex Pereira, because I get what you're saying. But he made his UFC debut against Andreas Michailidis. Like that, they're doing the same thing with her. They got her a win. They got her confidence. They got her a little boost on her start to the UFC career. They got some eyes on her with a highlight. Now she's got to work up the chain a little bit, and they're giving her somebody they think she can beat.
Yeah, no, I think she wins. I think she probably makes it look pretty easily too. I'm a big part of the Wang gang, so I thought she would do exactly what she did to Victoria Leonardo, and she looked great doing it. Fernandez, I don't think is terrible. I think she's a pretty solid striker. She is slow, but she has a lot of power and not the best cardio. I thought she arguably could have lost to Judice her last fight, and she might have been cut after that. But yeah, I think Wang will probably just be a lot faster, better footwork, more in and out. And Fernandez has really just struggled with the wrestlers. I don't think Wang's going to wrestle her, but we know Fernandez ain't going to wrestle her, so I don't think there's much to worry about there for Fernandez shooting a takedown. Maybe some cage time, but I think Wang will do fine in those scenarios. So I think it's Wang. Wang's going to be the pick too. You think she finishes her?
I'm actually hoping to kind of lean on that cardio angle, man. I'd be looking at like round 3. I think it's a late finish. After she gets a little bit tired and starts slowing down, I think Wang will take over and then start to hurt her late, piece her up to the body, make her quit.
That's what I was thinking. The under 2.5 is at plus 120. So I'm like, I could see it late third, kind of like you're saying, kind of got to pick an over and under at 2.5 rounds. Plus 120 is not bad. It's just like, can Kong Wang hold her power into the later rounds? I mean, she's been to 2 decisions, which is against like lower level competition. I mean, she went to decision with Wu Yanan. It's a little bit sketchy. Amina Hadaya.
We also have the gloves to consider.
That is true. But Kong Wang did get a KO with the new gloves, didn't she?
You know what? When was that fight? Because
yeah, she got it with. Or no, it wasn't that one. Fernandez. Kong Wang. August. Yeah, she got it with the new gloves. So she's beating the new glove curse. I mean,
she beat the new gloves.
She must have got some serious power there.
Let's go. I like it. You look back at like her UFC, or not her UFC, her MMA debut, and she got like a round 2 finish. And then you go back to her kickboxing record, and like she's got a round 3 body shot TKO. And that's kind of more what I'm thinking. If she works the body and throws some kicks out there, rib roasters, I think she'll get her out of there. But man, with that 2.5, I wouldn't want to touch the 2.5. I'd be like, parlay her up and then sprinkle round 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Wang inside the distance plus 125. So it's not bad. KO is plus 250. It's not bad.
I don't hate it. All right, we're all part of the Wang gang here. Obviously, it's just a matter of how you approach it. Let's go Wang gang. All right, guys. Next fight up, Kenan Song takes on the king of kung fu, Muslim Salikhov. He's back. I'm gonna bury the lead here, Hayden. I think this line's backwards, man. You've got Kenan Song as a plus 150 dog, minus 185 on Muslim Salikhov. And I've talked about how I'm not super comfy with Muslim Salikhov in general. I mean, they call him the king of kung fu for a reason. The old man carries his power very, very well. He hits hard. He's explosive. He knows what he's doing in all aspects of the game. But he is 40 now, and it's starting to show. He is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, with his wins coming over Santiago Ponzinibbio, another old man, and Andre Fialho. Andre Fialho is a bum. Dude got cut by the UFC very recently. and then he got finished by the Leech and Randy Brown. Randy Brown, maybe not such a bad look, but it was like a one-punch hitter quitter. And then the Leech, yeah, he's kind of not doing so great these days himself either. I don't want to take anything away from that loss because the Leech is awesome. Love the guy, huge fan. Don't want to knock on him or anything. But I just feel like Muslim Salikhov's getting to that point where he's a little too old, and we can count on him regressing a little bit because he's old. You know, we all watched what happened with Jake Paul, Mike Tyson this past weekend. Mike was the GOAT, man. He was the man, but only so much you can do. Father Time is undefeated. Everyone slows down, and eventually you don't got knees. Kenan Song, 34 years old. He's on a bit of a rough skid himself, but instead of going into it, he's coming out of it. He's also 2-3 in his last 5, but most recently, he is 2-1 in his last 3. He's got wins over Rolando Bedoya, who I actually was a little bit high on coming into that fight. I thought Rolando would get the better of him, so that was a good win by him. And then he beat Ricky Glenn, who's just kind of been an old staple of the division. So a guy that's kind of floating around the mid-level, you know, beating some okay but not great guys, losing to the good guys. I don't get it twisted. I think Song Kenan is a mid-level fighter at best, but I do think that this is a winnable fight, and there's a reason they're giving him a 40-year-old man to face. You know, Kenan Song, he's got 9 wins by knockout, so they're probably expecting him to get in there and try and put that power to work. Muslim Salikhov's got 12 wins by KO. I don't think this is the one where anybody plays timid, man. I think we see a banger in this fight. I'm probably a little bit more interested in the under, but I do think Song is a live underdog here at plus 150.
Yeah, I've had some really tough times with Song Kenan, and I'm really fighting myself to not go back down the same trail of trusting this guy, because it's just very hard to trust him, because at times he just doesn't throw anything. He's like standing in front of him. He's getting pieced up. Like the Kevin Jousset fight. Kevin Jousset literally just stood in front of him. Jab, 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 jab. Song Kenan's just not doing anything. I'm like, bro, you either got to move or you got to close the distance, start throwing some bombs. Like there's nothing going on in this guy's head. And the same thing with Ricky Glenn. He's piecing up Ricky Glenn, and then he's clinching, or he's going for a takedown. I'm like, does he have coaches, or is he just like in there doing whatever? Or maybe he's just betting on himself in a certain scenario, or betting against himself. I don't know. But Song Kenan, in my opinion, should beat a 40-year-old Muslim Salikhov, because Salikhov, very, very slow. And let me ask you this. If Salikhov didn't get the split decision victory, say it went the other way against Ponzinibbio, is he favored in this fight? Like, say he's on a 3-fight losing streak. I have to believe he's not favored here. You know,
I don't know, man. I almost feel like the books might have still made him favorite, but probably like a minus 120. You know what I mean? Like they probably still just edge it to him. But yeah, I see what you're saying. He probably is in a much worse situation in the public eye if he didn't just come off of a win.
Yeah, I feel like he lost that fight to Ponzinibbio, but
I thought he did too, for what it's worth. I thought the fight should have gone the other way.
It was close at the end of the day. And Salikhov has this ability to just like lull people into these low pace striking affairs where he's just at range and he's not easy to touch. So my worry with Song Kenan is he's just standing there trying to figure out like how to get in on this guy. And then he's just so low volume. He can't have those big moments because he's not a high volume striker. He's not a guy that's going to be pumping jabs and spamming low kicks. He's just going to try to wait for those scenarios. And then when he has you hurt, try to pour on the pressure. So he doesn't have those moments. I'm like, you know, like he's probably not going to be looking too good as far as winning minutes. So yeah, I would lean towards Song Kenan because I think at this point he's probably a little bit better, but I'm not confident because he's done me wrong many times.
I'm sorry, Emily. I'm trying to read what you're saying, but I can't. I'm
gonna try to put it in.
Can you copy and paste it? Get it over into Google Translate for us. Man, I'm with you. It's so tough though. Like I could see this being a fight where they just kind of stare at each other and there's like little to no footwork. And then one of them uncorks. Like who lands, one of them goes down. It could be either guy. I don't have any idea who's going to win this fight, man. I'm going to say it's dog or pass from a betting perspective. Hopefully they can get Kenan Song a win over on his home soil. I think that's the plan. But whether or not Muslim Salikhov is willing to go down with the ship like that is we'll see. Babylon is translating and says that she says Song is the pick. So I think he's messing, but I'll take it.
No, I did it. It said Shavkat is champion or something like that. Something
okay.
Shavkat champion.
King Shavkat. That Emily, we're with you. We like Shavkat Rakhmonov around here too. Good stuff. Let's go. All right. Next fight up, guys. You got Yan Xiaonan, and she's taking on Tabatha Baby Shark Ricci. Man, I was thinking about it last week watching the walkouts with John Jones coming out to the champ is here, and Mickey Gall coming out to Hey Mickey, and Jim Miller being as classic as he like. I need to do like a tier list of walkout songs. I've got to do a video one of these days. Best walkouts in UFC history. I got to tell you, as a father of a little girl, Baby Shark coming out to that song, I loved it. Like it's always stuck with me because right when I first, when she first got rolling in the UFC, my daughter was very little and just being born. We played that song in the house all the time. So it's always kind of stuck with me. I love the Baby Shark moniker. I like Tabatha Ricci. But she is really, really difficult to get a grasp on, man. 11-2, 29 years old. And she is just Tisha Pennington plus. In that fight, I was like, man, that's Spider-Man meme. Tisha Pennington and Tabatha Ricci are just pointing at each other. They're the exact same thing. They're super short. They're super stubby, and they've got more muscle on their frame than any woman should be able to pack on. I don't know how she's as thick and strong as she is, man, but she is, and it's impressive. But the muscle is not power. The muscle doesn't come with any knockout ability. She's got good cardio for 15 minutes, good enough anyway. She's a bully in there. She can drag people's ass around the cage. My poor girl, Jillian Robertson, wasn't able to get her to the floor like I thought she was going to because she's so freaking strong. She's got tree trunks, 4 thighs, and she puts up numbers. She's got good volume striking. Again, it's pillow fist. There's not a lot on it. She's not doing any damage. She's not hurting anybody, but she's got plenty of volume. When she needs to switch gears and get the takedown, she can do that. And then she's heavy on top of you, and she'll make you chain grapple. And she got the best of my girl, Angie Hill. I've had a real good read, I feel like, on Tabatha Ricci recently. I thought Loopy was going to beat her. She got the split. It was close. It was greasy. She got it done. I did think Jillian was going to beat her. I will say I thought Jillian was going to be too big for her, and that didn't quite pan out. But I called her getting the nod over Tisha Pennington, but there was some controversy around that fight, if you recall. A lot of people really felt like Tisha did enough to go ahead and get the win. And then she got the win over Angie Hill, another one where people were going all in on Angie for that fight. So it caught a lot of people with their pants down that Tabatha Ricci is kind of getting some love here. Now, I know you've got some thoughts on her relationship, on her boyfriend. It seems like the UFC is a fan. They're kind of steering into all that kind of thing. Yan Xiaonan is a fighter that I've really, really struggled with, man. I'll be honest with you. I do not think she's as good as advertised. She is 3-3 in her last 6, but it's against the absolute best in the weight class. Zhang Weili, Marina Rodriguez, Mackenzie Dern, Jessica Andrade, Claudia Gadelha back before she fell off a cliff, Carla Esparza. This girl's been fighting at the top of the division for quite some time. The UFC really wanted to set up the China versus China title shot there to make sure that they still had the belt wrapped around a Chinese fighter for a couple more years to come. They sold out for that one, man. My biggest pet peeve with Yan Xiaonan, and no disrespect to my guy Dan Levy, because he's in the chat. He's a fan. He's been riding the wave and making money on Yan when I just can't. I felt like the stoppage against Jessica Andrade was early. She landed a big shot at the very beginning of that fight. And I know Andrade isn't what she used to be, but she was not out, man. She wasn't out. She wasn't done. And Andrade is tough as nails. We've seen her take an absolute beating and just keep coming forward. Ref jumped in immediately. I was like, oh, that's sketchy. That's sketchy, bro. I thought Jessica Andrade was going to give her hell in that fight, and they cut it immediately. I kind of feel like Yan's fallen a little bit out of favor. She's 35 years old. She's decently well-rounded. She's got good striking. She hits hard enough. But I think the UFC likes Tabatha Ricci more than they like Yan Xiaonan. And I think that's why this fight is being booked. Man, I tell you, there's one fight, one, on every single one of these themed cards. We're just, you can smell the bullshit. There's one fight where a hometown fighter is not the person they're pushing. There's one fight where you go, you are the sacrifice on this card. And I think it's Yan. I wanted to do the Yan parlay because that sounds fun. That's a fun little gimmick to have Yan and Yan in a parlay on the same weekend. Both of them are favorites. Yan Janan's around minus 200. But man, there is one person, one singular person in the UFC who Carla Esparza has a TKO victory over. And it's Yan Janan. Carla couldn't KO anybody. Carla couldn't KO my grandmother, but she was able to get on top of this girl, crucifix her, and pepper her with the softest little elbows you've ever seen until the referee pulled her off. There is a grappling deficiency with Yan Janan. And I think Tabatha Ricci will be able to take advantage of that. I think Tabatha is going to be just a little bit too quick. I think Tabatha is going to be able to go to the grappling. And as much as everybody hates it, if this fight goes to a split decision, Tabatha is going to be the one that gets her hand raised. I think it's Ricci season, man. Baby shark.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you as much as I hate it because Ricci has stolen a few decisions for me that I think she should have lost. But this is a fight where I'm kind of with you with the grappling edge. You know, I think Ricci, she just comes forward. She has awful striking. Like it's not good at all. She does not land. I don't think she landed a single real punch against Angela Hill. Like watch back that fight. She just throws these arm punches that I don't even know if they're meant to really connect. She's just throwing them out there. And it looks okay because she has so much pace, so much volume. It just
Caitlin Chookagian.
Yeah.
Caitlin Chookagian stole so many fights because she kiosks and throws random vast volume out there. None of it's doing shit. She's not even landing with half of it, but she's more active. And the judges go, you're doing something.
Yeah. I mean, I'll cope and say it's because of her ass, and that's why they're giving her the decisions. But it really is just because of the aggressiveness and the pace that she comes with. But with Yan, it's like she got TKO'd by Carla, and then she beat Mackenzie Dern, and we were like, okay, maybe she's, shored up those ground scenarios where she had that huge weakness, and then it just got exposed against Zhang Wei Li.
Can I jump in real quick on that? I have said for years that Mackenzie Dern needs to call Ben Askren. She's a jiu-jitsu girl who for the life of her can't wrestle. She could be so good if she would just get the fight to the floor, but she doesn't know how to. She's got to pull guard. She's got to knock you down. You've got to slip. She's got to climb on your back. If she could wrestle, she'd be champion. She can't wrestle. So I don't think that fight was indicative of her patching up any takedown deficiencies. Personally.
No, I mean, it's not. But like at the time, she beat Mackenzie Dern, who was like, oh, great ground game, So she's like, okay, she shored that up. But yeah, Dern, maybe hire Ben Askren and get rid of Antonio Tricoli.
Oh my Lord, yes, please.
Grab something with that. But
don't remind me of that guy.
Yeah,
I lost money on him. Oh,
Tricoli's he's on the do not bet list forever. Jan's not on though. I think Jan's striking is actually very good, and I think Jan could probably hit Ricci with some type of big counter, just kind of like she did with Andrade. Just one of those where Andrade's just throwing these wild punches. And that was probably one of my most memorable cashes because I took Xiaonan by KO at like plus 2,500, just like a little sprinkle against Andrade, and I could not believe that it hit. But it's kind of the same thing here. If Ricci's just throwing this dumb volume out there, she's going to leave herself to get countered. But overall, I mean, Ricci's the underdog now. And like you said, if it goes to decision, she's probably going to be the more active fighter. She's probably going to have a grappling edge. And she has a pretty good chin. Like she's just able to eat these punches. It's women's strawweight. And fun fact for you, with the Decisionator gloves, there's never been a women's knockout. So probably going to a decision. So then you got to factor in Ricci, Callum Walsh, more active. I think I got to go Ricci, bro. Especially
we're on the same page. It feels gross. And I thought about it just looking right at this fight. I was like, why is that number dropping? You know, when I first looked at it, it's like Ricci was a slightly bigger dog just a little bit ago. And I was like, who's betting Ricci in this fight? And then I kind of dug into it and I was like, oh, it's me. I'm betting Ricci. I'm betting Ricci in this fight. I think this is maybe a perfect fight to look for that spread, you know, when it comes out on DraftKings, if you get a plus 3.5 at even money for Ricci, because this thing's going to a split decision. If that thing is anywhere near minus 130 or something like that, that's a bet for sure. And then I think she probably manages to get her hand raised just by coming forward. I think eventually she'll put Yan on the back foot and she'll do enough to get on top of her, pin her against the fence, drag her to the floor. And she probably pulls the upset in the co-main event.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a great number on that plus 3.5. Just consider the over is like minus 400. Right now, it's minus 200 plus 3.5 for Tabatha Ricci, which I wouldn't lay a minus 200 on a plus 3.5, but maybe a decent parlay piece. But yeah.
Yep. I am absolutely 100% with you. My God, dude. So, by the way, guys, the football game is just getting started. I've got fantasy implications. So I was just checking the score real quick. And apparently game started and Joe Mixon already busted off a 45-yard touchdown rush. Oh, this is going to be a one-sided bludgeoning, man. I hope they still throw. I've got Tank Dell. I need some points from Tank Dell tonight, man. So I'm just checking for my fantasy team here. It's going to be awful tonight.
Hopefully it's doing better than my fantasy team. My fantasy team sucked this year, so I'm out of it.
I'm in the running, man. I'm in the running. I've got a team that's 5-5 right now, but I had Nico Collins and Isaiah Pacheco on IR. So like
Nico's back tonight.
Nico's back tonight, and Isaiah Pacheco's supposed to be back in a week or two. So I'm like, if I can just hang on, like I'll be that asshole that slips into the playoffs and then knocks the guy out in the first round.
Well, I drafted CMC. I had the number 1 pick, and I just can't have your round 1 pick for 9 weeks. You're not really going to be doing too hot. So,
dude, there is nothing worse this year than having the first overall pick, because if you've got CMC, you're just done.
Yeah, I mean, don't have a chance to make the playoffs now. So
brutal, absolutely brutal. I am so sorry. All right, guys, it is time for the main event of the evening. This is Home of Fights. You're watching the Die Hard MMA podcast. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. My guy Hey Jive picks one of the best content creators in the game hanging out with us tonight. Make sure you support him as well. It is main event time. We've got Petr Yan, no mercy, taking on the God of War, Deiveson Figueiredo. What a fight. This thing is holding up the entire card, man, all by itself. This one could be a pay-per-view type of fight, main event. If they just put some stuff around it, it could be a co-main event. Like, this is a phenomenal fight. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, the one thing that we've got to get out of the way, first and foremost, you guys have got to understand who you're talking to, okay? I may have been having the absolute worst betting year of my life. I may have lost way more than I want to admit to over the course of 2024. But that does not take away from the fact that I am your bantamweight king. I understand this division better than anybody else on planet Earth. It goes all the way back to UFC 217, where I took TJ Dillashaw as a plus 180 underdog over Cody Garbrandt and cashed it. And then I rounded it up. I went right back to work and I took him again in the rematch at even money and an even bigger number by knockout. I bet Henry Cejudo against TJ Dillashaw at plus 205 in the next fight. Cejudo against Moraes at plus 140. I had a max bet on Umar Nurmagomedov against everybody's favorite Corey Sandhagen. I hit Aljamain Sterling plus 400 on the money line for 2 units against Petr Yan. And I went so far as to bet the decision prop at plus 950 and the split decision at 28-1, my friend. I max bet Merab the Machine Dvalishvili at 2-1 against Petr Yan. And I had a 5-unit max bomb on Sean O'Malley when he won the title against Aljamain Sterling. Y'all just don't get it the way I do. I'm the king of bantamweight. So when I'm talking on bantamweights, y'all better listen. We've got 2 of the best fighters gracing planet Earth in this fight. And you've got Petr Yan as a massive favorite. He opened up around minus 300, and so far some money is coming in on Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, I understand. I get it. Deiveson Figueiredo has looked absolutely incredible at 135 pounds. But guys, he is 36 years old. He is extremely reliant on finishing his opponents, and frankly, he always has been. Now, Rob Font is tougher than a $2 steak. Old leather boot. You can't get that guy out of there. And he was incredible, taking down Cody Garbrandt and rinsing him the way that he did. But the Marlon Vera fight, let's look at that one for a second, because Marlon Vera was coming off of a life-changing beating against Sean O'Malley. That man took so much damage, he is still not right. He simply was not himself in that fight. Never pulled the trigger, didn't want to go forward. First time he got touched, he said, yeah, no thanks. So there's a big asterisk to me on Deiveson Figueiredo's last win. Now, you can't deny it. He did what he needed to do. He looked good. It was a good, solid win, and that's fine. So he's got 3 good, solid wins in a row. But I do not think Rob Font is somebody that we need to be riding home about when it comes to the contender circle. Cody Garbrandt is about as busted as it gets. The man is getting knife tattoos over his eyeballs. If you need to know anything about where his head is at, we can check that one off the list as well. And then there's an asterisk next to the Marlon Chito Vera fight. Petr Yan on the flip side of this thing is just as questionable. 31 years old. We know he goes out to Tiger Muay Thai basically every chance that he gets. He gave Aljamain Sterling the title when he threw that illegal knee, and Aljamain had his performance that day. They ran it back, and Aljamain got it done with some tweaks to the game plan. But regardless, if that fight is scored in 2024, it probably goes to Petr Yan rather than going to Aljamain Sterling. If that exact same fight happened this weekend, the judges more than likely give it to Yan rather than Aljo, in my opinion. Very close fight, and just a game planning decision from Aljo that got him that win. That was the plus 400 money line, by the way, that we cashed on Aljo in that fight. Then they give him Sean O'Malley. Everyone knows what happened here, you guys. Everyone called me the biggest Sean O'Malley hater in the world. I've mocked the guy. I've made more TikToks than I can count making fun of him, because pissing off Sean O'Malley fans is good for clicks. There's so many of them. They're so angry. It's easy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. But I have bet on Sean O'Malley probably more than most of those people that are getting mad at me for my silly little TikToks are. I bet Sean O'Malley live in the 3rd round in that fight when he was about plus 200, because it was 1-1 going into the 3rd, and I knew exactly what they were going to do in what was a close fight. Was it that close? Not really. Jan should have got the nod. But O'Malley was the golden boy, and it was close enough for them to give him the decision. So guess what? Split decision goes to Sean O'Malley. Y'all were sleeping on Merab. Y'all have been sleeping on Merab his entire career, okay? He just rinsed the man. There's no shame in that. Merab puts a pace on everybody that nobody can hang with. Merab can grapple with nobody can grapple with Merab except for cousin Umar, who's going to come for that title here in just a couple of months. So you guys were just wrong about Merab, and that's okay. That's okay. I knew better. I cashed a big ticket that night. He finally gets a bounce back against Song Yadong. Now we have got a 31-year-old Petr Yan who has had the knowledge, who has had the feeling that he is the best bantamweight on planet Earth. And it was stolen from him time and time again. And he finally got a win under his belt against a young up-and-comer in Song Yadong in what was a hell of a fight. But he looked incredible. The guy's footwork, the guy's timing, the guy's speed. He is difficult to take down. He is harder to hold down. He is fast. He is hell on wheels. Petr Yan is absolutely incredible. And the one thing, Hayden, that I've always said about Petr Yan is that he is built for 5 rounds. This man starts slow. He lets you move and he downloads what you do, and then he uses that against you for the rest of the fight. He builds. I actually had sprinkles, believe it or not. And I know it sounds like, guys, I'm just kind of, wanking myself off over here, but I seriously have done literally all these things I'm telling you. I bet round 3, 4, 5, Petr Yan when he fought Jose Aldo, because I know he builds, whereas Jose Aldo in his age fades in those later rounds. Petr Yan is built for 5 rounds. This is not a 3-round fight. This is a 5-round fight. And Deiveson Figueiredo is getting older, and he is slowing down. Brandon Moreno was able to put a pace on this guy that he wasn't able to hang with, and Brandon Moreno finished him not once, but twice in round 3 because he was able to put a beating on him, and Deiveson Figueiredo cannot keep up the type of explosive offense that he does against elite level competition. Moving up in weight, this line is set very purposefully. A lot of people are going to come in on the Deiveson Figueiredo side because of recent form. The fact is, Petr Yan is a natural bantamweight fighter. He's the naturally larger man. He's got a speed advantage. He can probably match Deiveson Figueiredo's strength. And I do not believe that Deiveson is going to be able to take Yan down. And if he can take him down, he will not be able to keep him down. Hayden, this is a very long way to say that Petr Yan is rightfully favored in this spot, and he's winning on Saturday. The bantamweight king has spoken.
When you first started your whole wank off session, I thought for sure you were gonna be like Deiveson Figueiredo, Link Memorial Dog of the Week, because we haven't had it yet. Who's the Link Memorial Dog of the Week? You haven't decided yet, or what?
You know, man, I haven't decided yet, and that's because that's this kind of card. You know what I mean? Like these road to UFC guys, I don't know which one of them I trust to be my dog of the week. And I like the favorites, and a lot of the favorites are being put in a spot to win. I mean, you know, if you're kind of putting my feet to the fire on this, it's Tabatha Ricci. That's who it is. I'm sorry. I should have said it last fight. Tabatha Ricci is the Link Memorial Dog of the Week. That's the only dog on the card that I'm actually betting, and no, I'm going to pull the trigger on as soon as we get off the show. So it's Tabatha.
Okay. I heard your dog barking in the back too. I'm like, this is the buildup. The Deiveson Figueiredo as the dog, but
you two with the rug pull there at the end.
And I gotta say, I agree. I think Petr Yan wins this fight as well. I mean, I was kicking myself not taking Yan against Song Yadong because he was like minus 135 or something like that. Like it was pretty close.
It was very close to a pick 'em.
And I just remember looking at that line, and I'm like, he should win this fight pretty easily. Like he's not going to get taken down and controlled. If anything, he could take Song down. And my only concern was that it was a 3-round fight, and like you said, he builds into the fight. So I'm pretty sure I just passed on that fight. But looking back on it now, I'm like, Yan at minus 135, minus 145, or whatever it was, just seems like it was just too easy. And he won the last 2 rounds. It wasn't like a complete domination, but wish I would have played it. And I think going into this one, it's warranted. You know, minus 300 or whatever he's at. He's just better than Figgy. Figgy's a lot older, and his recent run is very overblown. Like if there was anybody, like say I was Peyton Talbot, and I was looking at guys in the top 10 of who I think I could beat easily, it's Rob Font. It's Chito Vera. Like I could beat those guys easily in a 3-rounder. You know, like
yep.
Those guys I always think have always been overrated. You know, they're both very tough, but if you get this nod that you're some tough guy, it just means you're super hittable. Like at the end of the day, it just means you get hit a lot. So yeah, I don't think Figgy's run is really that impressive. Great fighter. And at 125, he just had this ability of just being a lot bigger, more powerful, and stronger than a lot of guys. And everyone's going to look at, oh, he dropped Chito his last fight. Okay, you know, Chito is there to be hit. Chito wasn't throwing anything. I thought Chito could have easily won that fight had he just been a little bit more aggressive. But for some reason, Chito will just never be an aggressive fighter. He just won't be. So I think Yan will be there, make his reads early. Figgy's a guy that kind of does slow down as the fight goes on as well. And he's a guy that relies on a lot of big movements. And, you know, maybe at 135, he'll bring his cardio a little bit better into those later rounds. But I think Yan will build into it, make his reads, stuff takedowns. Figgy's been using some grappling to win a lot of his fights at bantamweight. And I don't see him taking down Yan. I don't see him controlling Yan. Over the course of 5 rounds, I trust Yan to win 3 out of the 5 at least. And, yeah, I think Yan gets this one done. So I'm with you, man. I can't go the bantamweight king, bro. Like I just can't do that. Can't come on the show and go against the king of bantamweight. So
I'm glad you know. Yeah, man. I actually think it's going to be Yan by decision. I know Figgy does slow down. Obviously, there's the late round threat as this thing gets extended deeper. Brandon Moreno was able to pull it off, that kind of thing, like I talked about. I could see Yan maybe getting round 4, round 5. It won't be round 3. He doesn't turn up fast enough for it to be round 3. This might be a good live betting opportunity, actually, because I honestly expect Figgy to kind of start a little faster than Piotr, and you could get maybe like a minus 150 going into round 2 or something like that if Jan gives up that first round, like he literally every single fight does. So it might be more intelligent if you're waking up at 5 a.m. to bet this thing live. I'm probably going to still be asleep. So I more than likely will have to get in pre-flop on this thing, even though the price is going to be better if you get to it live. But Jan by points is plus 125. And then if you want to sprinkle, like I said, round 5 is like 14-1, which is just gross. That's like a round 3 finish type of prop number. So it's pretty disgusting that's what we're getting for a round 5 finish. Cause they know what's up. This is probably going to go the distance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the over 4.5 is only minus 172. So it's not bad. Fight to go decisions minus 125. So maybe, I don't know. Who do you think the Chinese would favor more? Jan or Figgy? I think Jan looks a little bit more Chinese than Figgy. Just based on it. But I think Jan wins this one, and the King continues his streak.
I like it. All right. We are on the same side here, my friend. I'm glad we agree. Everybody bet accordingly. Like I said, I will tell you what I am betting on. You can do whatever the hell you want with your own money. But when we're talking bantamweights, you should probably listen. That's my guy, Hey Jive. That's been the Die Hard MMA podcast. Thank you all for being here with me. Thank you, Hayden, for spending 2 hours with me breaking down this awesome card. Now, I said at the top of the show, obviously, you're with me right here on Home of Fight, so they know where they can find some of your stuff. But what else have you got going on? Where can the people find you? Where can they support you? If you've got any promo codes or anything else like that you want to throw out there, the floor is yours, my man. Go ahead, let the people know.
Yeah, Hey Job picks on everything. Instagram's probably where I'm most active. YouTube, I do my own full card predictions. I give out a best bet show as well on my YouTube, so you can check that out. Twitter, TikTok. I don't really like TikTok, but Hey Job picks on everything. Just straight up. Go follow me, and I'll give you some entertaining content.
Good deal. There you go. There you have it, you guys. We'll see you on Thursday for the Total Takedown. We'll see you on Friday for the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. Everybody, lift your hands in the air. Send me your energy. Get me some points from Tank Dell so I can win fantasy football this week because Daddy needs it. Thank you all for watching the show. Love you guys as always. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here doing this damn thing, and we are going to keep rolling. Blow this channel up for me, guys. Get me to 10K, please. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure you check out the links in the description below. Like I mentioned, the premiums, if you want to tail the guys on some picks, link in the description below for all that good stuff. And please get signed up on Bet Openly. I'm running contests. I am giving away cash, but you got to get signed up. And the boss man wants you to deposit a little bit so we know we're giving back to the people who are supporting us. So just throw $20 in Bet Openly, guys. Give it a shot. Give it a shot. I promise you're going to like it. That'll do it for tonight, you guys. Be good. Go get a pizza. Call your mom. Love you guys. Have a good one. Let's roll.